What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers today give up 138 points to the Oklahoma City Thunder as they lose at home. Their first game after the trade deadline saw the debut of Cam Reddish and the debut of no other Blazers. GP2. The GP2 saga, we thought it might be done, Eric, but the GP2 saga continues. And we'll touch upon that. Joe Cronin gave his thoughts today, and we'll touch upon that. And we'll also talk about the game. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the refs. Because the refs were part of the good and bad and ugly. So anyway, this post-game show is brought to you by BetOnline. Use that promo code BELIEVE for 50% rewards. Super Bowl on Sunday. You can get in on some prop bets. And then NBA season, All-Star weekend coming up. That's always fun. You can, bet on the three-point contest, dunk contest, that sort of thing. And any sport you want. Check out BetOnline. Use that promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. Thank you to them for sponsoring the post-game show. So, Eric, what do you even want to start with? This is going to be a weird post-game show because a lot of it's not going to be about the actual game.
Yeah. So much like the Josh Hart trade night, let's just try to get the game out of the way then.
Okay.
Our defense is trash, man. Until that improves, yeah. I mean, we talked about this earlier, right? Like, people were saying that Gary Payton, one man, can't fix the defense or whatever. So I don't know why people think Thybulle's going to fix it. But yeah, we're just terrible on defense, man. The only hope is that having, two wings like Reddish and Grant together, when Nurk comes back, and we have a little bit better rim protection and stuff.
But both those guys' motors aren't the most consistent. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, Matisse Thybulle will help, but that's the problem is you play more Matisse Thybulle. If Cam Reddish doesn't improve from his 32% from three, then, you play Winslow maybe, and then you got Wofford and Eubanks. Like, yeah, your defense might be better because of Matisse and Cam and whatnot, but how good is it? It's probably still bottom 10. And then you have shooting issues. So that's the thing with the whole deadline is you don't want to open up other holes trying to fix the defense. That's why you need guys that are more than one-dimensional players. But, that's a conversation for a little bit later. In this game, just pathetic defensively. The Blazers have a gaping hole at the center spot. Both Eubanks and Watford were really bad defensively all game long. Eubanks had a couple good moments, but that's par for the course with Eubanks is he'll have a couple good moments, but then he'll just be really bad. And it was just a parade into the paint all game long, as it normally is when Drew Eubanks starts. And I think you're seeing this team missing Yusuf Nurkic, who, people will get on for his lack of mobility, but he's a big body that takes up space in the paint, and he can test shots well and is at least strong down there defensively. So, it's tough. Anfernee Simons, terrible game, but I don't even really care about the offense. We scored 129 points in this game, Eric. Like, if we scored 140, that would have been cool, but we got to play some freaking defense, and this is probably the worst defense in the league right now.
I mean, we take a 112-103 lead, I believe, and then Dame subs back in, and we basically just try to get him to go against Dort the rest of the quarter, and it wasn't really working. And then we tried to have Sharp setting a screen for him, and this is not Sharp's fault. He just doesn't really know how to space the floor after the screen, so we kept bringing his guy right to Dame's driving lane, and then one time Dame kicked out to him for a three, but he is coming to Dame on, I don't know why he would cut to the elbow where Dame is driving at on that one. So, like I said, he's never really been a screener at all in his whole entire life. He's the one getting the screen or going ISO. So, but overall, I thought Sharp had a really nice game. So if you want to look at a silver lining, I think he's proving that he's going to be a legit player. And I thought he had some nice moments on defense.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, SGA had that one sick move where he brought the ball up from right to left and went by him. But, I mean, that would have gotten pretty much any player in the NBA on that move. But for a lot of the game, though, he did a really good job of keeping him in front. Unfortunately, most of the other Blazers didn't, and we're still going to run Jeremy Grant on SGA. We're still going to just let him drive to the middle and not impede his progress, closer to the 3-point line. We let him get to whatever spot he wants before trying to stop him, and it's just frustrating. And we've played them 3 times now and haven't adjusted once. So,
Yeah, there's a $2 dono, Jack M. Thank you, Jack. $2 dono says the good, the bad, and the ugly. There was good. Yeah, the good was the play of the rookies. Both rookies, Eric. Touched upon Sharp. Sharp was really just composed in this game offensively.
He's settling down, yeah.
He had 3 assists in this game in 29 minutes. That's not crazy impressive, but considering, he's averaging less than 1 assist per 36, that's pretty good. And he just looks more controlled with the ball in his hands. He had a play that impressed me where he caught it in the corner, didn't rush it, kind of, triple threat, sized up his defender, pump faked, got a step on him, drew another defender, and then kicked out to Ant for 3. And that ended up being the only 3 that Ant made the entire game. Because Ant was just off tonight offensively. But Sharp, that's the type of play that I like because I think he's been too sped up when he catches the ball on the perimeter and making decisions too fast and getting himself too sped up and caught in trouble when he drives. And that was some of the things we've seen more lately where he's more composed, catching the ball on the perimeter. He doesn't rush things, and then he's reading the defense a little bit better. So you're starting to see an evolution with Sharp, and he had 2 blocks tonight and a steal. Didn't have a turnover, 3 assists, 3 boards, 13 points, 5 for 8 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, knocked down threes. Had a couple finishes, but he's starting to show off a little bit more than just scoring ability, which is nice, And then Jabari goes 5 for 7 from the field. Our rookies combined to go 10 for 13 from the field. Jabari was very solid outside of that play where he completely botched the dunk. But, Jabari had some solid moments as well, a couple solid drives. So it's nice to see our rookies settle down. It's just kind of crazy, Eric, because they didn't look like, neither of those guys looked like rookies today. They look like role players. Sure. Meanwhile, you have other guys on this team that were just really, really bad.
Nasir Little looks like a rookie right now.
On the defensive end, man, he might have been our worst defender tonight. I mean, it's kind of crazy how you bring in Cam Reddish and he immediately starts. Traded for him 2 days ago and he immediately starts.
Well, Chauncey was asked after last game, I think it was, why Nas isn't getting more run. And he had some answer about missed defensive assignments and stuff like that. But then you start a player that hasn't even practiced for your team and is known to be bad off-ball defender. So and then you start off with zone and he's all confused on where to be. I mean, that's not a good sign for Nas at this point. When Chauncey decided to start Reddish over him, maybe it was just a minutes restriction thing or something, and they just wanted to get him out there right away and kind of get that adrenaline out there.
You can't count on him. You can't count on Nas at all right now, man. 25 minutes, had 8 points, made a couple threes at least, was 2 for 4 from 3, had a couple free throws, but defensively, he's bad. He's bad. He's part of the problem, and he needs to be part of the solution. But it's not getting any better. I was sitting here hoping, okay, well, he was out. Maybe his core injury is a little bit better now. Maybe he'll get back to playing some better defense or at least showing flashes. And at this point, you have to, a lot of the rest of the year is going to be talking about the future and what guys should be a part of that future because this season is just in a really bad spot. At this point, I think his part in the future rotation of this team is questionable because if you're trying to win next year or the year after, he's going to have to improve a lot defensively in order to be playable because that's the biggest problem with this team. And right now, he's a major part of the problem on that end of the floor, just falling asleep, getting beat, not knowing where to rotate. He made multiple different kinds of mistakes in this game. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the good moments are few and far between right now. So I don't know. It's a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much everyone fell asleep at some point in this game, so maybe they were all just sleepy. But yeah, Nas in particular, that's something he had to be better at this year. And so far, it's not looking great. Yeah, so I guess you just hope that one of the new guys can run with that role, and you would assume that Thybulle's not going to be on a minutes restriction, so um, he's going to earn time just because we need defense so desperately right now. But yeah, I thought Reddish had about as good of a debut for not practicing as you could have hoped for. I was pretty pleased with his offensive game. I'm a little worried about his jump shot because his footwork isn't good. It's really sloppy, and I don't think that it's a lot like Nas actually. I think that just leads to inconsistent shooting, and that's probably why those guys haven't been consistent in their careers so far. But yeah, they kind of flail their legs, and they just kind of like dangle their legs when they shoot. They don't have like a strong base, which leads to more consistent shot repetition. So yeah, a little. I think that definitely should get cleaned up if he's going to become a consistent knockdown shooter. But you could see they could do some things with him. Was having another big body out there, and he's pretty
big.
athletic and stuff. So
on our team, he looks really big because we're so small.
I mean, he looks like the same size as Jeremy almost.
Yeah. But I mean, what does that matter? If
right.
you gotta, size doesn't equal defense in the end.
Yeah, but I mean, let me just get this on the record right now, and I think hopefully, Tori, you'll agree with this sentiment. I'm not rooting against the new guys. I'd love for Cam Reddish to be the trade of the century and him to come in and be the man right now.
It's sad that we have to say this, by the way.
Yeah. But just for the record, unlike other platforms, at least for me personally, I don't have an agenda. Like, I'm not like rooting for my team to fail right now. I mean, yeah, I might be fine with getting a better draft pick, but yeah, I want, if Reddish and Kevin Knox or if we get Kevin Knox, we'll talk about that later. If who else do we get? If Ryan Arcidiacono is like the next freaking Dante DiVincenzo off our bench or something, like, I don't know, like I'd be great with that. But I mean, that does, whether
they, let's be realistic,
right? Whether they're good or not. The thing is, it always comes back to me. It's value at the time of the trade, though. None of those guys we brought in had value. So, if you believed in them and you got them for cheap, fine. But like, let's not act like those were, oh my goodness, Cronin made the right moves or whatever. Like, that's not necessarily what it is. So, we just took like 4 flyers basically, and are hoping one of them pans out, and we might be hoping that none of them pan out so we don't have to pay any of them. Yeah, so, but I'm absolutely, like, I have nothing against Cam Reddish, despite what I, said, that I don't think he's been good in his career. He hasn't. That doesn't mean now that he's a Blazer, I'm not rooting for him. So I hope those guys play well. But
it's just absolutely pathetic that we have to say that. Like, we're fans of the team. And we give our thoughts on moves, but we always root for the team. A lot of our, passion and ranting comes from rooting for the team. So that's the thing. But let me thank a couple donos. Shout out Blazer fan Ebby with the 9-month member message. Says, missed Nurk and Sharp was nice. Keep it up, guys. Thank you. Nurk was missed in this game for sure. Bob and Weave, $2 dono, says Nas was benched at UNC because of off-ball defense. It's always been a problem for him, and it continues to be, and I don't see it getting better.
That is not true. Nas came off the bench as a freshman, only played 1 year there because he had Cam Johnson in front of him in the rotation, and Roy Williams played. They had a upperclassman lineup ahead of him.
But there was games where he would play less, and people would be like, "What's going on?" So I think that's what he means.
Yeah, but he was not. I mean, he was basically used as a corner spot. He was like the Aminu of that North Carolina team off their bench, and So I mean, I don't think you can read that much into what happened to him in college.
Well, he's a bad off-ball defender. Thank you, Bobby, for the $2 dono. Michael Orm, $20 dono. Thank you, Michael. Says, apparently GP2 trade may have been voided. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. That whole saga, we're obviously going to spend a lot on. We're also going to talk about the press conference. Probably the press conference first, I think, is the way to go. I don't know, though. Kyle Wilson, $5 dono. Thank you, Kyle. Says, I missed the game since I was volunteering at Tim Tebow's Night to Shine, which is a prom for special needs kids, but it seems our misery continued regardless. Thank you, Kyle, for the $5 dono. Well, maybe our misery will stop continuing once it gets to the point where we're embracing the tank, you know?
Once we get Victor Wembanyama, let's go.
Yeah, we're not getting him either, you know? I mean, I'll just be that pessimist, right?
We got like a 2% chance, dude. Never say never.
If we had like the 8th best odds and a 7% chance, we would end up having a 0.7% chance. Like, we just don't get nice things, you know? Yeah. I mean, last year I wasn't expecting to move up either. It's just hit after hit after hit at this point. But thank you, Kyle. Yeah. At some point I will be embracing the tank if this continues. I mean, this defense is just horrible and it didn't get any better. The problem is we also don't have size, and we didn't get any more size. Like, this team got worse. This team absolutely got worse, and this team wasn't good before. And now you have Simons, who's kind of playing in a funk. His haters will act like it's every game when it's not, but Simons was rough tonight. He didn't struggle from, like, he had 6 assists, 2 turnovers. Like, took a couple questionable shots, but it was really just he struggled to make shots in a game like this. He had some good defensive moments at times, which is rare for this team in this game. He was a little worse defensively in the second half, but he didn't make shots, and he's in a slump at this point.
I guess some people missed Cronin's press conference, but I do want to tie that into Anfernee.
Yeah.
I mean, how much clearer could Cronin have been? He said every single move they make is meant with Anfernee Simons and Damian Lillard in mind, and that those guys aren't going anywhere, and that's what he bases the whole point of his roster off of, is those two. So for those that are saying we should have traded Anfernee, that never even crossed this team's mind. They are in it with Dame and Ant as the backcourt, and they need to find the right mix of guys to make it work, but it's not going to change. So
yeah. And it's just frustrating because it's like people can just look at seasonal numbers instead of taking 1 or 2 game samples. It's like he has more bad. People say, I've heard this today, he has more bad games than good. You say slump for him too often, was a comment in chat. I mean, the season. We
went through this last game, remember?
Yeah, we went through this last game.
He was horrible
season,
last 4 games. And then
going into tonight's game, he was shooting above 38% from 3 on insane volume and on difficult shots. So that's really, really good. He's one of the best volume 3-point shooters in the entire league, and his finishing has gotten a lot better as the season has progressed. Like, people don't give his finishing enough credit. It's improved. Even when he had that shooting slump in January, he was finishing the ball really, really well, and he's getting more creative around the rim. His turnovers have been, cut down upon. I mean, he's averaging 22 a game. At the start of last season, if you said next year he's going to average 22 a game on this efficiency and 4 assists with only 2 turnovers, then you would absolutely have taken it. The problem is the standard just has gotten raised so much that people are a little hard on him, I think.
Yeah, you know what the standard is now?
What's the standard now?
According to Daryl, he sucks. Dame will be 36 by the time Anfernee develops.
What do you mean by the time he develops? An efficient 22 point per game scorer isn't developed? Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's just the expectations are through the roof for him. He sucked today. Absolutely. He missed shots. If he made shots today, nobody's saying he sucked today, and we would have had 140 and won the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. But, if he was missing shots all the time, he wouldn't be shooting good percentages. So that's the thing with talking about Ant.
And either he or Jeremy might have a Kardashian curse right now, too. So they're fighting through that as well.
Yeah, who knows which one it is. Yeah, it's going to be like quantum mechanics, man. Until we observe one of those guys with Jenner, it's going to be a curse for both of them. We have to observe one of them with her
Well,
before the other one starts playing well, because the curse is real. So that's how it's gonna go.
Vladimir says he's developed, however, hasn't reached his full potential. Yeah, of course not. Like,
Yeah, and that's the point. Yeah.
yeah, like this is. I mean, he's doesn't have a lot of experience in this role yet. Like give him some time to show he can improve. Give him like an off season or two to see if he can improve on the areas. Like he improved some things since Chauncey's gotten here. Now let's see if we can get something else. But I'll tell you right now, our defensive schemes are still part of the problem. And it looks like, Anfernee's trying to guard I mean, luckily OKC isn't like a really tall team, so it wasn't quite as bad, but they get into the paint a lot.
They still punished us on the interior, and we couldn't take advantage of them being small.
Yeah. So what do people expect when Anfernee is supposed to be guarding the rim and is our rim protector? It's like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he gets put in bad positions on the defensive end. But yeah, like people that don't like him, every time he has a bad game, will say, see, he sucks, right? And people who love him after every good game will say, see, he doesn't suck, he's amazing, right? And I would probably be put in that second crowd. But you know how you sift through all that? You just look at his numbers on the season. No 23-year-old averaging 22-4 on above average efficiency sucks or is bad. Like, that's just silly. That's just ridiculous. So people just can't handle when he has a bad game, unfortunately. It was the same way with CJ. But statistically, you could say he's having a better season than CJ ever did.
Yeah. Well,
statistically.
There's two things with the Dame and Ant backcourt. One is a competent GM puts the length and the athleticism and the right defensive pieces up front to counteract any weaknesses of having that backcourt, because the offense, if you can figure out the right mix on defense, the offense between those two, that's one thing I do agree with Cronin on, is like you're already ahead of the curve no matter who you put with those guys. Now we can argue about, spacing and whether you need shooters or not to get them to be elite offensive players and to have the offense cooking the way it has been lately. But the other thing is, too, part of the reason why people wanted CJ to be traded was they wanted basically CJ as a forward, right? But we traded CJ and we got a forward. We got Jeremy Grant. So, we did do that. And we still had someone, I mean, you can argue almost as good, a little better, whatever. I don't care what you think. But we basically have the same backcourt, but we got a front court player. But that's not enough. We need another one. But if you trade him for another front court player, then it just opens up some other problems, because you're not going to get like Paul George for him or something, that's going to be good on both ends or whatever. You know what I mean?
Here's the problem is this team has been so bad at defense for so long that people don't take into account potentially making other aspects of the team worse. It's just get the best and longest defenders possible, and people don't care about anything else. But that's the thing. Right now we're fifth offensively and 25th defensively. Guess what? If you make the defense better by getting a guy who sucks offensively, you also make the offense worse. That's the thing, is if we're mid on both ends of the court, if we're 15th on both ends of the court, we're still average. We're not any better. But that's the thing, is when you're average, it's okay, well, you got to find two-way players in order to get better, in order to improve. Because if you get one-dimensional players, if you're average on both sides of the floor, if you get a guy who's really good defensively and really bad offensively, the offense is going to get worse as much as the defense gets better. But guess what? That's still the position that we're in, being 5th in offense and 25th in defense. Getting Matisse Thybulle and throwing him out there as the starting shooting guard over Anfernee Simons, people will say that's a better fit, quote unquote, because defense is the most pressing need. Sure, our defense would get better, but our offense would get much worse. we'd be what, like 11th in offense and 19th in defense? Guess what? That's still the same. That's still the same exact thing. And that was kind of my problem at the trade deadline is Matisse Thybulle was too one-dimensional. Cam Reddish has not been good offensively in his career, and he has an inconsistent defensive motor. That was part of my problem, is it's not going to make this team better. And people want to say start Cam Reddish at the 2. I mean, he's shooting 32% from 3 this year. Wasn't a big problem that Josh Hart wasn't confident enough shooting threes and wasn't shooting well. Cam Reddish was 2 for 5 today, so Blazer fans, are in the honeymoon phase because he's new, and, he's 2 for 5. Nice. Right? And he's long and looks like he can maybe play some defense. So, people are going to really like him for a while. But in the end, his entire career, he's struggled to shoot the 3 ball. So you don't have enough shooting around Dame. It gets harder for Dame to do what he does. And that's the problem is you got to try and plug holes without opening up other ones. And at this point, the rest of the roster is not good enough defensively for me to say, okay, sit here and trade Anfernee Simons because it can't work. We saw Dame and CJ have a top 10 defense before.
Yep,
and I think both those guys were worse defensively in that year than Dame and Ant can be.
And that was Aminu and Harkless and Nurk, right?
Yeah, Aminu, Harkless, Nurk. So that's my thing is we got to, in the next 2 years, the Blazers have to try and surround them with the right defensive pieces. And if you for sure surround them with the right defensive pieces, which we haven't, and it's still a problem, then you can sit here and say, okay, well, we need to trade Anfernee Simons. At that point, maybe a star is available for Anfernee Simons. But here's the thing. He's only 23 years old. He's been improving defensively this year, in my opinion. It's been a little inconsistent, but he's better defensively than he was last year. So there's nothing to say he can't continue to improve.
But yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I think he's kind of getting there. Well, I still think he has to get a little bit stronger. But that's the thing is, this team ain't winning anything this year. Why are we sitting here after the trade deadline, saying we got to get rid of Anfernee Simons so the backcourt doesn't work? At this point, you just want him to improve defensively, and then you got to try and put the right defensive pieces around them because you have to have an advantage somewhere, and right now the advantage is offensive. You can't give up that advantage to have an average defense or anything because the other pieces don't work.
We don't know what Simons is going to become. And you saw a move in the first half. We've been asking for this for 2 years now. He drives to his left, jumps off his right foot, dunks with his left hand in traffic. That was beautiful. And we're like, oh, okay. The rest of his game tonight wasn't that good. But, you see the flashes of him getting to the rim better. So far in 2023, he's shooting still really well from 2, I believe, even after if you consider him struggling lately. But my point is this, is he the greatest version of himself right now? No. But Chat can't even decide what the problem is, okay? We got DJ Vega saying Simons is a better shooting guard, but CJ is a better point guard. Who's better overall is debatable. So DJ Vega thinks he's a better shooting guard, and then a couple comments later we have from Kapow Phi says, is Simons a shooting guard to you? When Dame retires, Ant goes to point guard naturally. He shouldn't be playing the 2 at his size. It's we can't even decide why we're mad at Anfernee Simons. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. So they give him time. He could be good at both of those. He could be a better point guard with the second unit. We still have the same problems. That was one of my issues. My 2 major issues with the trade deadline is we needed some size, and the biggest guy we got was 6'8", I guess Knox is bigger, but I don't even count him because he's just a throw-in to make a trade work. But we needed some a legit power forward center defender, someone who could actually intimidate people and be tough inside and make people not want to come in the paint or whatever. Didn't get that. And then we needed a shooter for spacing in the second unit. And I know Knox is shooting 37% this year or something from 3, by far the best of his career. But we didn't get Simons any better spacing. And maybe it just happens naturally with Sharp improving and Nas somehow becoming more consistent with his shot, and we do it that way. But overall, we still have these same issues with him running the point guard in the second unit, and that's that defenses can completely collapse and they also do it when Dame leaves the game, or when Ant leaves the game and Dame's the point guard with the second unit for a little bit. So it's just still a problem. Dame's so good. He's one of the top 75 players of all time, and he's a vet, so he knows how to do all this already. But he would struggle in this situation like early in his career too. But he also had seasoning in college and stuff, or like learned how to run an offense and things like that at Weber State. So, like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it'd be crazy in a league where you need as many talented players as you can. And in the playoffs, shot creation becomes critical. And if you don't have shot creators, you're never going to go very far in the playoffs. But you need defense too. I think you need both. So to me, it's never a question of rearranging Simons for someone else. It's putting the best possible players around Dame and Anfernee so that those guys can get the best versions of themselves and succeed that way. And it shouldn't be that hard to get the next Aminu Harkless or a slightly better version of that tandem at forward. That if you can't do that as a GM, to me, you're not good enough.
Yep.
That's not asking for much, is it?
No. I gotta ignore a couple of the arguments I see in chat. Like, there's one of them. What player sits behind non-all-stars then becomes an all-star after 5 years? It's like, dude, Dame played 4 years at a mid-major, right? But Ant came into the league right away. So if Ant played in college for 4 years like Dame, then all of a sudden he'd have more of a chance because he wouldn't have sat in the NBA and developed. Like, that's just such a bad faith argument because it doesn't even make any sense. It's not even logical. It's just basically trying to find things to have a problem with. It's cherry picking an argument. It's just like when people look at, a player shooting for the last 20 games and ignore their shooting on the entire season of 60 games in order to paint a narrative. It's cherry picking. So, Ant sat behind CJ. Guys take some time to develop. Ant's really solid. He's our second best player. He's really good. He's really good offensively, man. Defense is the only issue, but like he wasn't the biggest problem defensively tonight. He wasn't one of our worst defenders tonight. Nasir Little was one of our worst defenders tonight. Our centers were bad defensively tonight. Like, Jeremy Grant didn't really do anything defensively tonight. So I want to address those spots before benching our, bringing our second best player off the bench for a guy who couldn't even get in the rotation in New York and fell out of the rotation in Atlanta. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But that's the thing, is people always want the new thing and get tired of the thing that they've had. It's more obvious now than ever when people say start Cam Reddish or look at Cam Reddish tonight. That's why he should start over Simons, which I can't believe I'm seeing. So people need to relax, stop being a prisoner of 1 or 2 games on the season. Ant has been good offensively, and people saying that he sucks every game on offense is just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, Simons is fine. He had a bad game. Like, he's not going anywhere. People just want to scapegoat, and it's either the shooting guard or the center.
And Grant and Ant are on the same team. They can both be part of the problem. We don't have to choose one or the other. And one of those players is a free agent and could just leave us even if we did choose him this offseason. So, that'd be cool. Like, trade Ant and then choose Grant, and then he leaves anyway or whatever. Like, great.
And then we have no future and no present. Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
But it's just, I don't know. But people believe what they want to hear. Go look up clutch and fourth quarter stats for Anfernee Simons. He's actually one of the most efficient fourth quarter players in the league. I know it doesn't seem that way, but he is. Grant, on the other hand, has been one of the worst fourth quarter players in the league outside of a couple games very early in the season where he hit clutch shots. He hasn't hit many clutch shots in the 50 games since the beginning of the season. So, it's just crazy, man.
Apparently, Jeremy Grant has signed with Clutch.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, speaking Riddle says speaking of clutch. Yeah, so cool.
I am severely worried about the Jeremy Grant situation now
I mean,
because so supposedly Eric, like, he cares most about wanting to win. This trade deadline doesn't say that this team wants to win. This team did not get better. This team valued second round picks, and if this whole GP2 thing is potentially true, which we'll talk about in a bit, then it makes this organization look even worse. This is one of the worst organizations in the league right now. It's one of the worst ran organizations in the league right now. So I think there's a chance that Jeremy Grant walks. I would be severely worried about that. I think Portland is basically going to have to max him out, and there's going to be an overpayment, but you can't afford to lose him. You've been trying for years to get a forward like this, right? So Portland's just in a really tough spot. The last thing I'm worried about is a player who's good right now who's also 23. That's the last thing I'm worried about. Because if things hit the fan, he's going to be that guy. Or one of those guys. He is going to be he and Sharp and then whatever lottery picks we get over the next couple years, right? That's if stuff hits the fan. So, not worried about him. Anyway, I'm ready to move on from that conversation.
I got to say one thing. Dro, man, you're crazy. What inexperienced teams have won the finals? We're not winning the finals. We're not going to be better than Phoenix the next 2 years. So what does it matter? Like, that's stupid. We're supposed to give up a young player because we're not going to win the finals. No crap, we're not going to win the finals because we're not even going to get close to getting there because our team's not good enough and our GM doesn't make good enough moves to do that, and our owner won't even let him make moves even if he wanted to do it. So we're screwed anyway. So you might as well hope that the young players that are inconsistent. So what? Should we just give up on Sharp then? Should we just trade him now? Like, why even bother with Sharp then either? Because he's going to be inconsistent for a while. That's just such a dumb argument, man. Come on, you're better than that. And if you want to go that route, Phoenix was up 2-0 in the finals with two rookies as their top six players, and they were pretty young. Booker or Ayton was in his third year and inexperienced, and that team hadn't made the playoffs, right? That was their first year in the playoffs.
He was less experienced than Simons is now.
Booker had no playoff experience. Ayton had no playoff experience. Chris Paul had a whole career of choking or getting hurt in the playoffs. So like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Yeah. Come on, guys. Let's not be irrational about this kind of stuff. Like, we don't need to do anything crazy. Just hope these guys develop. And yeah, he's had some inconsistent moments, but the whole Ant's inconsistent thing is just crazy. He's playing next to Dame, who is on a freaking insane run. No player is going to also average 30 points a game and be the same player every single game when Dame's just been taking over for 2 months now and has been insane, man. It's hard to have consistently good games every freaking time. It's
just insane too, Eric, because statistically going into this game, I don't have the statistics with this game, but in the 5 games in February going into this game where everybody says he's playing terrible, Anfernee Simons has averaged 23.6 points per game on a true shooting percentage of 67%. And everybody acts like he's been playing terrible lately. It's so stupid. It's not even based in fact. In January and February, he's had his most efficient months of the season. Actually, his efficiency has gone up every month. October, it was 56%. November, it was a shade under 58. December, a shade over 58. In January, it was 61.6 true shooting percentage. In February, going into tonight's game, it was 66.8. So, in January, he averaged almost 20 a game. In February, he's averaging almost 24 a game. Players have bad games. Not every player is going to consistently score 30 a game or 25 a game. Players have bad games. Dame's had bad games this year. Dame's more consistent, but he's a better player. He's a top 10 player, maybe borderline top 5 player in the world right now. So it just doesn't make sense to me.
And Jay Money says if we're going to be bad, might as well start Sharp. Fine, but start him at shooting guard. We need to start him at shooting guard. Let's make Sharp our small forward. As of the future, and get those 3 to play together and give them the next 26 games after tonight. as just give them all 40 minutes. Well, you don't want to play Dame 40 minutes, but 35 minutes a game playing together and see what you got from there, see how they develop playing together. And if they end up making the playoffs and go on a run, fine. It happens. If they don't make the playoffs, we have a lottery pick and maybe we get lucky. Maybe we don't. Maybe we use it as a trade chip. Maybe we don't. But you add another player to that mix and you just hope that the young guns can carry Dame as he gets older. And I just, outside of that, I don't see a legit trade or a legit order of operations you can make to make this team realistically better than some of the other teams in the league right now.
Yep. Anyway, Sharp is 6'5", but he has a crazy long wingspan that makes up for it, and he gets off the floor quick, so that helps him rebounding, contesting shots. Everything a lengthy player is. Not everything is just based on where the top of your head stops. If he had a 2-inch longer neck, would all of a sudden he'd have small forward size? If he was more of a giraffe, would he be a small forward then? You don't play basketball with your head. This ain't soccer. You play basketball with your hands. You rebound, contest shots by reaching up. His standing reach is average for a small forward. Okay, his wingspan's like 7'1", and he gets off the ground quick, so he's able to get vertical quicker in certain situations. So stop just looking at height with guys in terms of trying to put them into a specific position, especially as the NBA goes a little bit smaller and goes positionless. Anyway, yeah, we should get some more giraffes. Anyway. Shout out NBA Trailblazers, $2 dono says, appreciate what you guys do. Excited to see Sharp. Thank you, NBA Trailblazers. Yeah, he's starting to show his development this season, which is really nice to see. He's starting to look less and less like a rookie on offense.
Yeah, he just looks so much more comfortable out there. There was that period for like 2 months where it looked like he had completely lost his confidence. Now he looks cool and collected every time he catches the ball. I feel like he's got a good idea of what he's going to do with it before he catches it. Before it was like, should I shoot it? No, let's do this. And then he ends up taking like a much tougher shot, a fadeaway. Now he's taking one dribble, getting to the mid range and pulling up, going straight up. He's not fading away a lot. He's crashing the boards nice. He's been our one of our best rim protectors when he's in there. But yeah, I think this development is, it's pretty crucial over the next couple of years to, whether we can open up a window to contend. We need Sharp to become the best version of himself. At least a near all-star type player. And the sooner we can do that, the better. And that's why I would be all for giving him as many minutes as possible this last stretch of the season.
Yep, and then shout out Slick Mode with the $5 dono says, why is Ant so afraid to yam down on someone? I need posters to put up in my room. I love that dono. Thank you, Slick Mode. He just needs a step. He's not one of those guys that's going to ride. He's not one of those guys that's going to explode into a dunk with somebody giving him contact on his hip. He's gotten a lot better finishing through that, though. In the year of 2023, Eric, I did the math for you. Going into tonight's game, he was shooting 61% from 2. He's finishing a lot better, he's shown improvement throughout this entire season, in my opinion, and, it's just wild that he has a bad game, and there's all these narratives that aren't really based on fact to me. Anyway, let's talk about... Who else do you want to talk about from this game? Because we do have other things to get through. Most notably, Cronin's interview in the GP2 situation.
We still don't have a way to stop SGA. It's really annoying.
Would have been nice to have Matisse for this game. People, when they talk about Matisse, the acquisition of Matisse, it's like he's really good defensively, right? That's what we need, right? Absolutely. But he's one-dimensional. And when I say I want two-way players players that are more than just good at one thing, not just one-dimensional defenders. People take that as, oh, you don't like Matisse? Wow, I thought you said we needed defense. You'd be baffled as to how many people have had that attitude towards me about the Matisse Thybulle signing. It just makes no sense. Like, context is completely escapes people. So, if Matisse Thybulle was a good, ball handler and three-point shooter and provided that defense, I would love that pickup. But guess what? We wouldn't have gotten him. The reason why we got him is because he's one-dimensional. The reason why he wasn't in Philadelphia's rotation, for the most part, was because he's one-dimensional. The reason, why Philadelphia hasn't been able to make an Eastern Conference Finals or go on runs is because they have too many one-dimensional players, or specifically guys that can play defense but can't shoot the ball and aren't good offensively, most notably Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle. That's been a major problem for them. Those guys are tough to play in the playoffs. So, obviously it would have been nice. I would have absolutely loved to have had him playing against SGA in this game. It's not a situation where I think he should never play or anything like that. Just thinking long term, if this team is ever going to get serious about contending, they're going to need guys that are more than just a really good defender and nothing else. They're going to need multi-dimensional players. They're going to need guys that can get it done on both sides of the court, because those are the types of players that contending teams have. So my whole thing where I'm not, thrilled to have Matisse Thybulle isn't because I don't think we need help defensively or whatever people have tried to paint it as. I just, he's a one-dimensional player, and I want guys that are more than one-dimensional players.
Plus, he's 6'5". I know he's got a long wingspan, but here's the problem. He had Embiid protecting the rim, pretty dang good rim protector, right?
Yeah.
So he gambles a lot, and it pays off when you have protection behind you. But now you gamble, and you have Anfernee Simons and Damian Lillard as your rim protectors, or Drew Eubanks, or Nasir Little falling asleep off ball. Like we're gonna get cooked if he gets blown by on the perimeter. So I'm hoping to heck that he realizes that if he comes in and just all he has to do is use his defensive skills to keep guys in front of him and not necessarily gamble and go for steals and stuff. If he does that, I think he could help us, because, he instantly becomes our best screen navigator probably, because right now, who is that? Keon, and he doesn't even play. We don't really have a good screen navigator. So, I think if he just navigates the screens on pick and roll and prevents guys from driving, sure, he could help this team, of course. But one of my problems is that only solves part of the defense, and we didn't even address the back end of it. That's like the huge problem, and why guys like Thybulle are going to have trouble. Even if they are the best point of attack defenders in the league, you can't be a good point of attack defender if your backside and your help defense is always out of position, or not the right defenders, or poor defenders. And that's going to be a constant problem for him in this offense, being, guard size or small forward size, and then trying to guard the perimeter with no rim protection right now. And then on top of that, we didn't add that complementary piece, that 6'9", 6'10" guy shot blocker or anything like that. Which we maybe should have gotten Paul Reed or something from the 76ers too, or gone all out for him. He would have been a cheap option, but someone that's, a little tougher and a little bit bigger body. I think we need multiple ones like that. So I'm hoping Matisse does improve it. It's impossible not to. We become the worst defense in the league, and we haven't stopped anyone in months. So it can't hurt, obviously. But the other problem is he's also a free agent after this season. So do we pay to keep him? I'm not so convinced that we're going to even be willing to do that. So he might just be a 27, or by the time he plays, 26-game rental on a team that doesn't even make the playoffs. So, and we could give up 2 seconds for him. So I don't know. It's just kind of frustrating to me that that would be our only move to get rid of our Gary Payton defender and bring in Thybulle, thinking that's going to fix the 30th ranked defense. It's just crazy to me.
You know who I wish we gave up 2 seconds for? Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't fix our defense either, but
no, but he's better. You know what I mean? Like, he's a better player at a forward position, provides some scoring. The problem is he's not great defensively, but he's better. He's better. I wanted Rui on this team. He's looked pretty solid in LA so far. Would have saved him from becoming a Laker. But regardless,
honestly, if we're going cheap filler, like even before the season, so Chris Brandlin brings up Charles Bassey. The 76ers had a case where they had to waive people before the season started. Like if we were going the cheap route, you get Isaiah Joe for spacing off the bench. You get Charles Bassey as a big body rebounder off the bench. And you get Paul Reed, who's already shown an ability to guard players like Giannis fairly well. Like he's a guy who can rebound the ball, play defense, and is a hustle, strong guy. So like you could have gotten cheap guys like that, and maybe not only with Isaiah Joe fix the spacing of your second unit because he's shooting 45% from three.
He was 4
but
for
also,
4 from 3 today, by the way.
You also fix some of your defensive things, and this isn't in hindsight. I said some of these things like. I mean, I said we weren't going to because I knew we weren't going to. Yeah. But like when those guys got cut, or we had being the 6th worst team last year, we had one of the highest odds to claim players off waivers, and we could have claimed them using the tax or the trade exceptions we had. Neither player ended up getting claimed. They got picked up after they cleared waivers, so we could have had either of those guys. Without having to give up anyone, and not that they would have made a difference or anything, but I'm just saying like that's the type of thing. Like maybe Reddish, maybe Thybulle end up being those type of guys for us. That would be great. But if you're gonna do this, you've got to hit on some of them every once in a while, instead of just trading for 4 guys who are all going to be free agents, and you might not even keep any of them after this year if they're not good anyway.
Yep. Shout to Suli Thovin, $5 donor, says in a redraft, how high are you taking Jalen Williams? Do you take him over Sharp? No, because Sharp still has much more long-term upside, where Jalen Williams was more of an NBA ready to help now type of guy who didn't have as much overall upside. But Jalen Williams looked really good. I like Jalen Williams a lot in this draft. I had a higher grade on him than consensus, and then he went higher than I thought he'd go to OKC, but I didn't mind him going in that range. I thought it was a little weird because I thought OKC was just going to swing for like the most high upside guys, risky plays because they have so many picks. But I mean, that pick has definitely worked out so far. He's been really, really solid and just really well-rounded player. So I like him. I like him a lot. And that's the thing. It's funny because going into the draft last year, there was a lot of narratives about trading the 7th overall pick and, the 7th pick can't help you win, like rookies don't help you win, this and that. Jalen Williams would help any team in the league right now because he's big, super long wingspan, can play a little bit of defense, can handle a ball, pass the ball, shoot, and attack. And he plays at a good pace. Like he plays like a veteran. He does not look like a rookie. So that pick has absolutely hit. And yeah, he has high potential, but he doesn't have Shane Sharp's potential. Let's just be honest. Like, I'm not underrating his potential, Airmancer, by saying he doesn't have as much potential as a Shane Sharp or maybe some other of the like super high ceiling guys in that draft, because he is older. He is how old is he? Let me look it up. Right now,
21. Right.
He's almost 22 years old, and Sharp's 19. So, a little bit more time for Sharp there, to fulfill that upside.
Floor is definitely higher, but do you want higher floor or do you want higher ceiling? I'm always going to choose higher ceiling.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because how do we get stars has always been the question. It's not, how do we get a role player? And he's a good starter, so maybe he ends up being more than a role player, but I'd rather take the swing for the fences because those swings for the fences panning out are what ends up creating contenders. Mm-hmm. So I still love the pick of Sharp at 7.
Yeah, me too.
Wouldn't take anybody taking below him over him.
I mean, maybe you can make the argument if the trade down scenario was on the table, and you could have gotten like Jalen Williams and Lou Dort or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I still don't think that makes us better than a lot of teams right now. So I don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather just keep swinging for the fences and hope you get a star eventually, and no matter how long that takes.
Anyway, anything else from this game?
No. Does anyone else have anything from the game that they want to talk about before we move on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we'll move on to whatever next.
All right. Grape 8. No one, I shouldn't say no one, but most people are logically hoping for the best from Sharp and recognizing that he still has a lot of way to go. No one is saying he's for sure a superstar or going to be first team All NBA in 2 years or whatever. Like,
and the
come
people
on,
that
man.
do are few and far between. Because there are people that are like, he's going to be a star, but that's just optimism. Everybody realistically knows that he's not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
Trust me, dude, you don't know this fan base, man, because you're not a Blazer fan. I know you're a Thunder fan. You don't know this fan base and what we've had to deal with, bro. Dude. Like, and we've had so many stars, sure things that were already stars, end up going down with injuries. I mean, the whole Brandon Roy situation, right? Greg Oden. He was supposed to be a generational big, right? We know to expect the worst. You don't have to sit in here as a fan of another team and say, you guys are too high or you guys aren't expecting the worst. Trust me, dude. We go into everything expecting the worst, okay? So let us hope that he can fulfill his enormous ceiling.
Great, babe. Were you in here at the beginning of the season when we picked our Rookie of the Year predictions and people predicted Sharp to win Rookie of the Year? Do you remember what I said to them?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and before we drafted Sharp, I was kind of souring on him for a while. I had some negative comments about him. And, so, I mean, but I'm chilling. I still think that going back, I'm still taking him at 7, and I'm still. I mean, who knows? We don't know. Like, he could be great. This could be the best he's ever is. Maybe he's just all athleticism. That's the problem with guys like that with freak athleticism.
Yeah. They
have to have the work ethic and the drive to be great. And hopefully he does. Everything we've heard from him, I mean, they wouldn't have said he was basically untouchable at the trade deadline if they were kind of wondering if he had the work ethic. So I'm pretty sure he has a good work ethic.
Supposedly he's not doing the dunk contest because he wants to prepare for the second,
for sure,
half, even though it's like the second or the third of the season,
Yeah.
But anyway, was there anything else that people want to talk about in regards to this game? It's funny, like I asked, is there anything else to talk about from this game? And the first comment I see is, I want you to talk about GP2. I'm saying, is there anything else you want us to talk about from this game? We'll talk about GP2. Because I just want to make sure we get this out of the way. We're an hour in. That's a good amount of post-game. Good amount of narrative.
Nick Sherman says, what do you guys think of Cam? I mean, we already talked about it, but I'm not going to judge Cam on two highs or two lows the first few games. I mean, if he was like awful tonight, Tori and I aren't coming on here and being like, "See, told you guys he sucks. He can never be good," because it was one freaking game. If he scored like 40 points tonight, I would have been hyped. But like, I'm not saying, "Oh yeah, he's the 10-year answer at small forward for us. We found our guy. It's all over." Kind of.
Yeah.
Keep it based in reality. Like, let's just give him like 10 games, see how he settles in, kind of judge his, like, hopefully he picks up his defense. Hopefully his lateral quickness improves because it was pretty bad tonight on defense. So hopefully that's just from from being
He
not in
hasn't played
game shape
much.
since
Yeah.
December 3rd. 2 months now he hasn't played. So let's hope that he can improve his quickness there just by getting some more reps. Um, but yeah, let's just give it some time and not like overreact one way or the other off like one game or a few games. I'm not saying anyone particular in here is doing that, but like I mean, it was cool to see him make a couple shots right off the bat. Had a nice cut
Yeah.
and finish. Had a nice 3-point shot. Had a nice and one in the second half. So yeah, there were some positive things. There were some negative things, and we'll just reassess after we have a little bit more sample size.
Yep. And then, by the way, I'll think you're done in a second. Sorry, we skipped over it. There's a comment. Dame is getting pissed. I can tell by his face gestures. So NBA on ESPN tweeted out a picture of Dame sitting looking mad at the bench after he got subbed out of this game at the end. And people were just going to make a mountain out of it. People are going to, have everything to say that we've heard before for years. For freaking years, because people don't learn. It's like, dude, oh wow, a player cares about winning or losing. That means he wants out and he blah, blah, blah. Everything he said isn't real. And people will just say, he's changed as a human being and now wants out because he's mad about losing a game. Really, he's a competitor. He takes pride in his performances. Nasir Little, at the end of this game, was laughing on the bench. And that pissed me off because he got cooked today. And guys that don't take pride in their performances while the game is going on, the fact that we lost this game as a competitor, knowing that I'd be pissed off, it bugs me. It rubs me the wrong way. If you got cooked all game defensively, you should not be happy at the end of the game. You should not be laughing about things, right? Some people don't understand where I come from on that. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. It's, he doesn't have to be pissed off. But I want competitors to take pride in winning losing games. Guys that want to win, want it. And if you want it, then you're not going to be happy with losing. So I don't like seeing dudes smiling on the bench during but it's funny because Dame wants it. Dame's always wanted it. That's why he's so freaking good, is because he's always wanted it. He's wanted to be great. He's wanted to win. He's wanted to win in Portland. He wants it. So when we lose and there's a picture of him looking bad on the bench, it's so ridiculous to see all the other fans and fan bases coming to all these drastic conclusions about how he wants out and this and that. And then, every time we lose, there's a comment in chat like, Dame looked pissed. I think he's starting to get mad. I think he's starting to think this, think that. Like, dude, he wants to win. Of course he's going to be mad because they lost. Of course he's going to be mad because he lost. Caden Desort says, I hate seeing dudes smiling on the bench during absolutely. And Caden knows. Because I played against Caden. Caden knows how much I hate losing. You know what I mean? So Caden knows I can, I hate that type of stuff too.
Oh man, here you go talking about you're playing.
Not college, rec league, because I'm trash. Okay, Reddit, don't go off on me. I don't need to hear that number, my point per game scoring average again. Okay, we get it. But yeah, do you care about that type of stuff, Eric? Because I feel like I'm normally the one to talk about it.
The laughing thing.
Yeah. Does it bother you at all?
I mean, in someone's defense, you could have laughed or smiled, and that just happened to be the one time you did it in like a 20-minute period.
Yeah.
And that just happened to be the picture. So I don't know. Like, you remember us as 49er fans a couple weeks ago when Jimmy G was laughing on the sidelines the 49ers were down like 31-7 or whatever. Like, it didn't even bother me, like, because I didn't care, because like he's gone anyway. Like, we're not re-signing him. We're gonna get a compensatory pick for him anyway. But yeah, ultimately Nas has to play better. If he doesn't, that's going to be the reason why like I end up not necessarily turning on him, but not believing in him anymore. So that's the reason, not because he smiled on the bench, but yeah, some guys, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't want to win. Some people just, like you in the Gary Payton stream, right?
Yeah.
when we traded Gary Payton yesterday,
Yeah.
you laughed, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone took a picture, like, why are you smiling? Are you happy about this trade? You know what I mean? Like you can take stuff out of context. So like I never really like to deduce too much. But if
but
like,
I don't have a hand. I don't have a hand in that. I don't have any control. If it was something where like I had control in that and I did a trade that I thought was terrible, I'd be mad. You know what I mean? When you played, you got control in your performance. If you're getting cooked,
yeah, but like if you asked him after the game, like, hey, do you think your performance on defense tonight, contributed to losing? And he doesn't say anything other than, heck yeah, I'm pissed off we lost tonight. Like I need to be better on that end so I can help my team win, something like that. But like unless he says something dumb, like I said, I'm not going to read too much into a picture.
yeah. I mean, I don't read too much into it. It just bothers me as a competitive dude. Like, I want. If he played fine, it wouldn't bother me. It's just that dude got cooked today defensively. That dude got cooked today. So I don't like seeing it when dudes get cooked all game and then they're just like, act like it doesn't bother them or faze them. Like that's the thing is, what would if Kobe got cooked all game defensively? Back in the day, he would have been pissed as a competitor. And those are the types of dudes that end up being those types of dudes, if you know what I mean.
This comes back to me to my lack of aggressive game plans because I don't know. I just don't feel like players are being challenged or even wanting to step up to the challenge. Because, like, if you're a coach and you're like, all right, SGA, we're playing in tonight. Who wants this assignment? And Nas is like, give it to me. I'm going to shut that guy down, right? Like, that's the kind of mindset I want out of my players. Like Kobe, like you mentioned, would be like that. Like, I'm taking him. Jordan was like that too. And so I just don't feel like this team has a lot of that right now. Like I want everyone to be like that and want to like take their matchups. But I feel like the way we play defense just sucks the life out of everyone, and they're all reactionary and they're all hoping not to screw up, and you just can't win playing defense like that. In my opinion, you got to get aggressive, and that leads to that kind of mindset. But to me, the conservative game plans are kind of messing with people's heads on that end.
All right, let's talk GP2. Because GP2 might still be a Blazer, which is just absolutely insane. Oh, God. So,
well, apparently Cronin thinks he'd be fine if he came back because nothing's wrong. So their relationship is fine, even though apparently
This is, I mean, I don't even know how to recap this and not trip over my words. I'm gonna try my best. So, I just saw a Dame quote, which is interesting that we'll have to talk about. But so Gary Payton the two. See, I'm already tripping over my words. Might as well start calling him that. Gary Payton the two. He failed his physical with Golden State, and it's putting the 4-team trade between Atlanta, Detroit, Portland, and Golden State in jeopardy. That, of course, involves James Wiseman to the Pistons and Sadiq Bey to the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks gave up 5 second-round picks, which headed Portland's way to flip Gary Payton II to Golden State. And GP2, we all know the situation with his core and injuries, and he was cleared in early December and didn't play till January and was still a little bit sore. Apparently, he failed his physical with the Golden State Warriors. Apparently, Golden State is pissed off, and there's somebody I talked to that covers the Warriors down in the Bay, and the word is that trade is actually in serious jeopardy of being revoked, which would send Wiseman back to Golden State and Bey back to Detroit. And basically, there was something that came out that said that the Blazers pressured him into taking Toradol shots, which is a strong painkiller, in order for him to be able to play through the pain that he was in. That's basically what's happened. Is there any other details that I forgot to add to that?
Well, the Cronin denied that happened, and Billups also reiterated that they would never force someone to do that didn't want to.
Yep. So
So someone's lying.
Someone's lying. Um, someone's lying.
Anyways,
And
but real quick though, before you get into that, so Golden State has a choice. It's, do you take an injured Gary Payton or do you bring back Wiseman?
yeah.
And I think they're going to ultimately choose Payton. So I don't think the trade's going to be held up. But if we didn't reveal all the medical information that they asked for
Yeah.
or held something back, that's kind of a dirty negotiation tactic. So I'm assuming that Golden State asked for all the information regarding Gary Payton since his surgery in July. Yep, they absolutely
because here's
should
the
have.
thing: he played through this core injury for them. They knew he had this core injury because he played through it in the finals and through last season, and then had surgery on it right after we signed him.
And is that going to cost the Blazers picks either? I don't know. It's tricky. Bobby Marks said that since it's after the deadline, they either have to void the trade or it go through as presented. But maybe the league would make an exception and we get less picks than less second round picks back in that trade. So maybe that's the solution. Maybe the NBA allows the trade to go through and then finds us $100 million and strips a draft pick in the future or something. That would get rid of some of that asset stuff. But yeah.
So did Cronin say that they didn't give him Toradol shots, or they didn't pressure him to take Toradol shots?
Okay, so Cronin was asked about it. He said he just found out that Payton failed the physical 5 minutes before going on the stage, had no other information, and since that trade was on hold, couldn't speak. I think it was Hyken directly asked him, did you force Gary Payton to take Toradol shots to go on the floor? And he said he couldn't comment about anything regarding the trade, but that he would say that they would never force someone to do something to get on the court or force someone to play that didn't want to play.
The report didn't even say they forced him. It was that they pressured him to take Toradol shots.
Okay, but it didn't say whether he took them or not. That was my question. Did he end up taking them, or was he just mad that they were trying to pressure him to do it? Because this is most likely what happened. This was probably back in November or early December when he's, still complaining that it hurt, and they're wondering why. Like, you should have been cleared by now. Why does it still hurt? Do you want to try a shot to see if you can play for a little bit and see how that reacts?
Yeah, and because basically the thing is with this injury, too, is you got to play through the soreness. That's what Nasir Little said. You kind of got to... He said something like, rip those tendons back into shape. And basically play through the soreness to get it back to where it needs to be. It's like part of the rehab. So that's the thing with Gary Payton II. If he was feeling soreness, it wasn't necessarily a thing where it's like, oh, well, they shouldn't be doing anything. It's a part of the rehab for the core muscle injury. So that's where, suggesting a painkiller as part of the rehab to get back to play makes sense. It's not a bad thing. Anyway, go on.
But, so, I really don't know what to believe because...
Let me just say this. If you have nothing else to say on the Toradol shots thing, I think the Toradol shots thing is just... that doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I don't think that's where the problem lies. I think that's just a bunch of he said, she said, whatever.
So, I mean, ultimately, if Gary Payton decided he didn't want to take Toradol and he got pressured into doing it, then, why didn't he stand up for himself and just keep telling him no?
He told him no, that he won't play for a month.
Right.
So...
we knew he wasn't playing and we were frustrated with him, right? So, what is that? We didn't force him to play. He was forcing himself not to play. So, to me, based on... So, Justice Winslow posts out the little Kermit the Frog sipping his tea, meme. And to me, So just for the record, Justice Winslow's a guy who absolutely loves being here. We saw what Josh Hart had this like heartfelt message about the organization and everyone. Like he, became friendly with a lot of the staff and thought it was the first-rate organization, all that kind of stuff. Justice Winslow loves being here. He said several times that this feels like home to him. So if he's posting that, to me, he's calling out Payton, not the team, or he's he knows that the medical staff wouldn't be like that. So I find it, I don't know. So I find it really hard to believe that Cronin and this medical staff, as much as like I hate this organization right now, I find it really hard to believe that they would tie him down to the table and force him to get a shot and then lie about it and say he didn't get it on purpose and then not do it. Like I don't know. I just find it much more plausible that Gary is sees all this hate against him and how he just took the money and then used us and all this stuff and is exaggerating what happened to make it seem like our medical staff didn't know what they were doing because his stomach didn't heal right from the injury. So you have I'll let you say what you think is possibly going on with the physical.
Yeah, here's the thing. Is I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this whole thing is just Gary. But that is absolutely not the case because Golden State, he failed his physical with Golden State. Golden State found something that they, he would, supposedly he's supposed to sit out 3 months because of what they found in the physical, Eric. Apparently Golden State is pissed. Apparently Golden State might revoke the trade because of it. Golden State has no reason to lie. They have no motivation to lie about this. They were supposedly planning on starting him tomorrow. And there's no motivation for them to make that up. So the fact that there was something with this physical that was flagged as wrong is Golden State. That's not Gary. So this whole situation is not just Gary, spinning everything in creating this whole situation to take the heat off himself, because there's a problem with Golden State and what they found in the physical. So basically it comes down to this. There's two different aspects of this that'll determine the situation for me. One is, what exactly did they find? Is it something that there is no clear-cut medical consensus on, and Portland could have viewed it as, oh, this is a part of the rehab, and Golden State views it as injury or something wrong? Because core issues are complicated. It seems like a bunch of them are different. Right? Yeah. It seems like a bunch of them are different, and there's no clear-cut timeline even for returning on them. And we've heard guys talk about, Nas, as I said earlier, coming back from these injuries. You go through pain. You got to work it back into shape, right? And there's a bunch of muscles that connect there. So that's the thing, is it could be something that there's not even a clear-cut medical consensus on, that where Portland didn't view it as a problem at all. It was just okay, well, he's still rehabbing, trying to get it healthy. He's not at risk of re-injury, and if anything, playing or exercising it is only going to help it get better. And Golden State went to the physical and saw something on there that Portland thought was fine, and they think it's a major problem. And he fails his physical because of it, and they're mad. Right? That is my theory as to what the most likely thing is that happened. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted that out, and I had somebody reply to me. It was Ty Forshee. He said, as someone who works in medicine, I absolutely know that one medical team can have a complete different opinion on a prognosis than another, depending on the information provided and the level of expertise. I don't think any party is acting with bad intentions. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the most likely scenario, Eric.
Yeah. Okay. But the Warriors know Gary Payton played for them with this core injury.
Yes.
Right? So they knew it was a problem. They knew he had surgery in July. They knew he has played limited minutes this year. So I don't know how they weren't expecting to see something on, I don't know.
That's
it
the
was
other.
As bad as, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. The other factor is, what did Portland share with them?
Right.
What did they find? And what did
but like
Portland
you
actually
said,
share with them?
Portland's doctors could be looking at it like these check out to what we believe his progress should be by now from this, and they, like a completely new set of doctors, looks at it and is like, what the heck, this doesn't look any better than it did with us last year, and now like it feels like he should have to get the surgery again or something. So like I could definitely see it both ways, but this happened in baseball this year. Carlos Correa signs with the Giants, fails a physical because of an injury had in 2014. It hasn't affected a single game missed from since that season. That's freaking 9 years ago, and it had nothing to do with any injuries or problems he's had since 2014 from that injury. He fails a physical with the Giants. Then he goes and signs with the Mets, and he fails another physical with them, and then ends up re-signing with his old team or whatever. So like it's also a case where these physicals are designed to try and find red flags and try to do stuff. So it could be a case where, once again, I mean, it's not necessarily an exaggeration, but a little thing like, oh, his core, I don't like the looks of this thing, and all of a sudden it turns into not being comfortable, and then you have to make it seem like it's really bad, so it's questionable or something, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, it's something that he's played with before. He played the other night against the Warriors, Wednesday night, the day before the trade, 2 days before the physical. He was out there playing. They saw him playing. So it's not like it was to the case where he couldn't even get out on the court. He played, like 15 minutes in that game or something. So like they physically saw him 2 days ago on the court. So I don't know how they can think he's like incapable of playing for 3 months just from a physical.
Yeah, there's a comment that says, is there any possibility some minor stuff showed up on the physical, but Gary's people informed Warriors he needs another 3 months just like he did to us?
That's certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. That's the thing, is there's so many potential layers to this that, like, what's said on the surface isn't... You can't take it for face value. You can't take anything that Golden State says as face value, and you can't even take anything Portland says as face value. There is some sort of miscommunication breakdown here, it seems, and there's some sort of differing medical opinions. So what was the miscommunication, and what are the differing medical opinions? It could be a situation where, I mean, I don't know how you handle this as the NBA. Because if it's something where there's no clear-cut consensus opinion, like, oh yeah, that's for sure messed up, and nobody would argue otherwise, and Portland hit it, then obviously that's on Portland, and that's really, really bad if that's the case. That's really, really bad for Portland. And that's, like, Portland would have screwed up if that's the case. But if it's something where it's not clear-cut medical consensus, and, medical teams can't agree on what is actually the, if it's injured or recovering or whatever, or what the problem is, and Portland disclosed, basically their own set of medical information, and Golden State had a medical team that ended up disagreeing with that medical information, then, Golden State could sit here and say, oh, well, they didn't share us the truth. But what exactly is the truth if there's no clear-cut medical consensus?
Yeah.
That's where I think this is going. And I'm not hearing anything in regards to, like, it's two teams of doctors disagreeing on the medical consensus. This is just my own speculation, but it's the only thing that makes logical sense. Because I don't think if you're Portland, you know what I mean? They knew he had this injury. Like, I don't think Portland would be that dumb to completely mishandle it the way that it seems to Warriors fans like they've mishandled it.
Yeah, like I said, he played 2 nights ago against the Warriors. So, like, they should have had concerns, like, maybe if something came up in that one, but they still traded for him the next day. See, here's the deal, though. After what happened yesterday, after he was traded, there's no way he can come back to this locker room.
Absolutely not.
No matter what Cronin says, he cannot come back to the Blazers. So ultimately, I think the trade gets pushed through. I think the only thing the league could do is maybe just make a one-time exception to renegotiate something, like maybe we don't get any seconds or maybe we get 2 seconds or something, maybe it's just whatever. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think the solution can be trade voided, everyone go back to their teams, no trade happened, and Wiseman's back on the Warriors, Kevin Knox back to the Pistons, Sadiq Bey back to the Pistons. Yeah, I just think that would be a really bad move by the league.
Yeah.
And no, we're not gonna. They're not gonna let us trade it or change it to get Wiseman, and we don't even want Wiseman. We had a chance to get Wiseman for Gary Payton, and we said no. And
they would just take a couple picks out of the deal, and it could be viewed as like not even teams renegotiating. It could be the league saying like, okay, well, if there's no clear medical consensus, okay, we're meeting it in the middle here. Yeah. The league could maybe step in. That's the thing is there's multiple possibilities out of this. But there's a comment that says, sounds crazy, but what if Payton and the Warriors are working together to try and punish Portland or try to reduce the cost it took for them to acquire GP2, threatening to cancel the trade just as a ploy? You can't completely rule it out, but I would be very surprised by that because if Golden State got caught doing that, it would be really, really bad for their franchise, and they're just not desperate enough to do anything because they were a dynasty, so why even risk that?
I don't think Golden State would do that. I could maybe, would it surprise me if we found out that Gary Payton was telling the Blazers it doesn't hurt and it's fine and it's healing, and after he played, no, I'm good. And then when he gets traded to the Warriors, no, they didn't take care of me at all. I'm so glad I'm back here. I was telling them my stomach hurt and they just didn't believe me and all this kind of stuff. That's certainly plausible.
You cannot trust GP2.
And then the Warriors are like, what the heck, man? What did Portland do? And then he's like, yeah, they're forcing me to get Toradol and I didn't want to get the shot and they said it would help the pain, but I was against it and all that stuff. I could definitely see that happening, right?
If GP2 pulled anything like that, he is worse than Raymond Felton ever was. He is worse, Eric. Yeah, because I was already calling him Raymond Felton 2.0 before this whole thing happened. He could be.
I don't think he should be cleared for his actions in this whole thing either, though. But if the Blazers did anything medically wrong to him, forced him to do anything, pressured him to do something he adamantly denied, or they are the ones that end up being lying about everything right now, certainly plausible. I don't put that after all the scandals of colleges and teams allowing sexual misconduct for years and years and years and knowing everything about it and not doing anything about it. Nothing would surprise me for an organization. Man, Cronin, for all the things I don't like about Cronin, I just have a hard time believing he'd be the type to cover a bunch of stuff up and then hide stuff from another team. He's been the exact opposite. He gives the team too much leverage and he tells them too much and he's trying too hard to get the other team what they want, not the opposite where he's trying to scam someone. Yeah. So
if that was true, he probably doesn't trade GP2 back to the Warriors.
Right.
Right. That's the thing. It's Gary Payton II still talks with. You can tell he's still really cool with the guys he played with last year and won a championship with last year. You're telling me that he wasn't telling them this as it happened and it didn't filter up to management? You know what I mean? There's something so off with this entire situation. And that's the thing. That's what makes me think there's a chance that GP2 could be lying, because it's you would think if he was going through all this and he's cool with the entire team, you would think word would get around and word would get to Golden State management. You know what I mean? Because NBA front offices talk and players talk.
Because I saw a video with Gary Payton in Warriors gear walking by Steph Curry and Steve Kerr laughing and having a good old time. So
when was that?
Earlier today.
Yeah. So I don't know. Something is seriously off. The NBA is going to have to investigate every single part of this. I assume there's an investigation coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do investigations in regards to tampering and then dock second-round picks. That doesn't matter as much as this does.
This did... So, when the Blazers traded Martell Webster to the Minnesota Timberwolves, I forget who was it. It might have been Pritchard, or it might have been after Pritchard. I don't remember who it was, but their GM accused the Blazers of withholding information about his back, and then he went on to have back issues throughout the rest of his career, but it didn't come up in their medical evaluation and flagged. And then like a few days after the trade, he had like major back problems and stuff that he obviously found a way to kind of hide or manage until he cleared that physical. And then they, I think, I don't know if suing is the right word, but they, called us out within the NBA and tried to come at us at the Blazers for some sort of like negligence in that trade. And I don't remember what happened. I think ultimately they decided that there wasn't enough evidence to prove that we didn't disclose that or know enough about it. But I mean, this type of stuff does happen sometimes. I just, like I said, I have a very, very hard time believing that it's as simple as they asked for all the information and we like lied or hid it from them.
Yeah. I mean, why?
I don't know.
Trade him,
like they wanted him back. Yeah,
like,
right.
I mean, I guess, but you would think that. I don't know if he had something seriously wrong with him and we knew it. I don't know how we think we could slide that past Golden State. Mm-hmm. So,
because it was going to come out in the physical, right?
Yeah,
and he was going to tell them, like you said. He probably already told them all this. Like he's probably been talking to him, "Come get me at the trade deadline" the entire freaking season.
Yeah. Yep. So I think at the end of this, still feel the same way about GP2. And because there's a comment. Blazing Nug says, "I hope Gary is telling the truth. I seriously do, because if he is lying about this and putting a whole franchise through the ringer, he is a total d-bag." Mm-hmm. He will be the after the way, if he was lying, the way he handled everything up to this point, I can't stand him. Mm-hmm. But then if he was also pulling this and lying about stuff or something, then he would be the guy I've hated most. That's a former Blazer. Like he would be number one on my hate list all time because of that. And there's something else I can't get into that I've heard that makes me dislike him. I can't share, but I'm not a fan of him, man. I'm not a fan of him.
And I still haven't seen a single person wish him well or
exactly. That's the other part of it.
And they pretty much all did about Hart and Greg Brown. Madden Mobile has an interesting theory.
What's that?
I mean, Payton. I don't know if he specifically demanded a trade, but obviously he didn't want to be here, right?
Yeah.
Like he wanted out.
Yeah.
What if he got hurt recently, knew he was hurt, but didn't say anything just so that it wouldn't affect him getting traded? So maybe the Blazers didn't even know. And now he's trying to blame it on something that happened months ago, but it really is
There was a play somewhat recently where it looked
he was holding it, yeah.
I mean, but as Portland, don't you got to do your due diligence before you trade him to make sure you don't get caught in that position? Like, if you're planning on trading him... I mean,
you don't do a physical on a player you're trading because you've already been monitoring it like you wouldn't have known.
Yeah, but you should... I mean, with a guy like that who's had a questionable injury history, you should do a physical on a player. Yeah. Like, they should have done a physical on him, Like
I don't know,
the night after
but
the game.
like let's say, oh, it was like the Martell back injury. Like maybe he wanted out of Portland so bad he hit it from the the
Yeah.
Blazers.
I mean,
Like this doesn't happen as much anymore because it gets flagged anytime you hit your head. But I mean, I come from a generation where you hit your head, you don't say crap, even if you're completely woozy. You just like pretend like everything's fine because you want to keep playing and stuff, and that's not the smartest thing either. But like, I would absolutely hide injuries from coaches and teammates just so I didn't have to go out of the game or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I'm not. I don't know. It's just a theory.
I mean, that's a very plausible. That's a very plausible theory as well. That's up there with there not being a clear cut medical consensus and that causing this situation. Yeah, I mean, those two things make more sense than the theory that's floating around right now, which is that Portland, is basically the worst organization in the league in terms of treating their players. You know what I mean? Because that just doesn't make sense. Like, for the most part, they've treated guys well. So,
Yeah. Shaggy says, could Gary hold a grudge for cutting him so many years ago? No. Why would he sign with us then? I mean,
just to fleece us for money? To
but
get
then,
back at us?
Okay.
I don't know.
Right. But yeah, if that's what happened, he was mad at us and he signed with us because we offered the most money. He was like, I'm gonna take this money and then watch this. I'm not gonna play and then I'm gonna demand a trade. Like, wouldn't he be thanking us now? Wouldn't he be saying, suckers, you paid me and I got back to where I wanted to be and
yeah.
and I got the money and I'm in the situation.
I like Madden Mobile's theory.
DJ Vega says, if he re-injured by barely playing, the dude should not have been cleared to begin with. Yeah, I mean, that's also true, but this was a case where I heard that he was willing to, for that Golden State game on December 29th or December 30th, whenever that was, he was willing to try to play through the pain versus taking the route of having to have their surgery before he played. Like he wanted to play in a game and see how it worked before actually thinking that it's something that the surgery went wrong or anything like that. But like I said, it's different for every person. There's not a lot of data points to know like how long it takes to heal. Everybody's different. I mean, even like ACL injuries now, like they're so locked in. I mean, it used to be like a 2-year process before a player was ever the same, if they were ever the same. And now it's like some players come back in like 7 or 8 months, and it's like, what the heck? Like, how are they back so far? Yeah. Like Jamal Murray was out like a year and a half almost, wasn't he? And then like Ricky Rubio was already playing, and Joe Ingles is already playing this year. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Yep. So I'm not coming to any conclusions until I find out more. I just how do you even? This is so messy that I feel like it's going to take a lot of time to unravel, and Golden State has to make a decision tomorrow, Eric.
Yeah.
And the players don't seem to like him at all. You can't just bring him back. I mean, that's the thing, is he's supposed to sit out 3 months. If he lied and, he actually re-injured himself and didn't say anything, then obviously that takes us off the hook if that comes out. Mm-hmm. And maybe he has to sit out 3 months, and then it's a situation where it's like, okay, well, you're not going to be around, so whatever. Like, and then he's still on our team, but, like, he's just not, because he just can't play because he re-injured himself. Then I can see that happening, and then he's a tradable contract this offseason, and we try and figure out how to include him in a trade to Golden State, and he's matching salary for something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Monkey says, if you look at recent history, the Blazers haven't played anybody that's even barely injured. They wait till they're 100%. Yeah, absolutely. How many times did it, like a 2-week reevaluation turn into months.
Exactly.
I mean, Gary Payton did. We did that with him. Like,
Exactly.
literally. You know what I think it is?
What?
So I do think if he re-injured it, it's now he thinks it's because he took that pain reliever and then it wasn't. He felt like he was better because of the pain reliever than he was, you know? So maybe he's now blaming us for re-injuring it because he took the pain reliever and that gave him a false sense of being fine. I mean, that's the only logical way I can think of. But
I mean, but he has the choice whether or not to take the pain reliever.
Right.
So that's on him as much as it is on us.
It's just so weird to me because, like I said, I mean, I've known about Gary back from the Oregon State days, and I mean, this just is like so much different than I thought he was like. So I don't know. This whole thing is weird, man. Maybe everyone's lying.
This is just insane, dude.
Did we force Justice Winslow back to play?
I know. He's been out since what? December with an ankle sprain, and it's February 10th. Like, we don't force players back. I think we learned our lesson from trying to play Rodney Hood on a sore, Achilles or calf.
Yeah.
Since when have we ever forced players to do anything?
Yeah.
We haven't, right?
Yeah. Monkey Rage says, why wasn't he more outspoken if he was forced to take pain relievers back when he had to? Because that would have been, November-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg Hughes says he seems a little off mentally, so does some weird stuff on the court. I mean, maybe it's because of the pain relievers, if he took them. Like, that could explain it. Because I brought it up.
It's not like a drug. It's just a pain reliever.
I know, but, it does make you, it does have a little bit of psychological effects, right? Yeah. So, because it's not like he did anything crazy, but I brought it up. A couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, like, he's doing all these antics on the court that's just like just seems pointless. And it's like, sure, you want a guy to have fun out there, but at some point it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, the shot would go up, he wouldn't crash the board, he wouldn't get back on D, he'd like squat and look the other way type stuff. Like, what are you doing? So, I didn't read too much into it. It's not like I had a huge problem with it. I just thought it was very strange because I didn't see him doing a ton of that in Golden State.
Medina has a great point.
What's that?
The Blazers did hide the initial surgery for 2 months.
Yeah, but they said something in September.
Yeah, but
maybe they were thinking he was gonna get better, and they wouldn't have to say anything.
They said he was going to be cleared.
Yeah. I mean, you can't roll out the Blazers completely messing up in this situation either. I'm not sitting here trying to absolve them of blame.
Or
I just don't. There's a bunch of possibilities.
But maybe there's been ill will from the beginning because they didn't do their due diligence on him needing surgery. I still wish someone would ask him that. What did they know when they signed him? Because if they didn't know he would need core surgery when they signed him, I could see some bitterness towards him, and then I could see, some resentment back for not fully supporting him through that process. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, we'll have updates on this situation. Obviously, we'll talk about this situation as it develops on Blazers Uprise Live on Mondays and Thursdays. We go live 3:30 p.m. That's our second channel. Link in description box below. And then obviously, as this is a post-game show, we'll keep discussing it on post-game shows. Just don't believe everything you hear. Don't take everything you hear for face value in regards to the situation. Okay? I'm very interested to see what the Blazers have to say about this. And we haven't heard from the Blazers yet about this. So it'll be interesting to see what leaks. And this is going to be, Eric, this is a really bad situation. But it's like people watch drama television, right? Just for the storyline of it. This is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. It's going to be very fast. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be very, very intriguing to see how this plays out. Like, grab your popcorn. I was eating popcorn on the trade deadline stream yesterday. I should have saved it for today because this is the type of drama that you grab some popcorn for. So we'll see. It's not good. It's not good, but it's
soap opera, man. Days of our lives right now.
Yeah. You know, I wish it wasn't like this, but since it is, I mean, well, we're gonna find out. We're going to follow the storylines. Let's see where it goes. Buckle up and grab your, big old bag of movie theater butter popcorn. Anyway. Cronin interview. Let's finish with that, Eric. I missed part of it. I assume you listened to the whole thing?
Yeah, you should listen to it.
I feel like maybe I'd get into trouble listening to that on stream. I don't know. I don't want to risk it. I'll just let you lead the discussion. I listened to part of it.
Let's talk about the Lillard quote real quick.
Okay, what's the Lillard quote? Yeah, well, it was posted in the GC. Oh, Damian Lillard on the Blazers trade deadline efforts says, quote, "I don't know what we tried or what. I don't know the details of those conversations because I wasn't in the room. As far as I know, we tried to do things to make significant improvements, and it didn't happen."
This kind of pissed me off during Cronin's interview.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard this part, Tori. Remember a couple weeks ago when Quick asked Dame, we listened to that interview on the show, who he wanted traded or something, or like what moves does he want to make? Are you getting frustrated with the moves? And Dame said that question was disrespectful or something or whatever. Like go ask the person in charge those questions, I'm a player or whatever. Cronin today, when asked how he values Dame's input and what Dame's input is and all that kind of stuff and what he thought of the moves, said you should go ask Dame that question.
Yeah.
2 weeks after Dame got upset for having people ask him that. That, to me, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
But Cronin also says he talked to Dame about everything, so I don't know.
Uh-oh. Trouble in paradise. Well, it's not paradise. Trouble in... We're like a hellscape right now. Anyway. So what are your... Didn't Dame recently have something on Instagram like just wait till you see what we're about to pull off or something, and then like after the trade deadline, reporters said he went into the room and did like a little dance or whatever and just like was unbothered.
Yeah, Chris Brandlin says Cronin's not going to speak for Dame, but I mean you got to read the room when he just got mad for getting asked GM type questions. Yeah. But Cronin's like, oh, you should go ask Dame what he thinks of all these new guys. Like, that kind of response is like, Dame's going to be the company guy. He's going to, like, he already said that about Reddish. Like, he's got length and he could really do some things and he likes Thybulle and all that stuff,
I mean, I truly think they did go after Vanderbilt. I heard that they were willing to try and trade for Kevin Durant. I mean, those are big things that obviously didn't pan out.
Yeah, Cronin said they had all kinds of stuff on the table and he just couldn't get it done, but that you just keep waiting for the right situation and the right opportunity and keep making yourself available to make those moves if they ever do become possible. But he did say he basically admitted that he tried for a bunch of things and couldn't pull anything off.
I don't really like a GM. I mean, I don't know. You want to be honest with your players, but you're basically admitting publicly, like, yeah, I was, shopping Simons. Yeah, maybe that messed with Simons mentally, but it shouldn't. I don't
He
know. Like,
did not.
obviously, if it's
He absolutely did not shop Simons. He
for
talked
Kevin Durant, how do you even make a
I don't.
serious pitch for Kevin Durant without shopping Simons though?
Well, true. But
Like that's my point.
I didn't. He didn't say Kevin Durant.
Oh, he said big things on the table.
You
I
can't.
thought you said Kevin Durant.
No, he can't. He can't say anything about any other players.
Yeah,
He can't
I
mention.
was just listening to you. I thought you were saying Kevin Durant.
I
mean,
never
obviously,
named a single player. I just said he said he tried. He had several big moves that he went for, and ultimately couldn't.
Right after I brought up that I heard that he went after Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Which I don't even remember where I heard it. It might not have been true, but I mean, seems like they did go after guys. They definitely went after Vanderbilt, and that's a guy Dame likes.
I guess real quick, Cam Reddish was super excited about this opportunity and seemed really happy and seemed
because he gets to play.
Rapport with Chauncey. Yeah, of course. Like he hasn't played since December 3rd. Of course he wants this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly though, if it comes out that like Cronin lied in negotiations or something with Golden State, and or maybe he gets caught like in a lie from this press conference or something, because he said some things that seemed kind of easily proved that he didn't do or something. Like I'm just wondering how much longer he'll get a pass for being the nice guy and stuff.
Well, also, how much of that would Jody even have a problem with?
Yeah, he kept
Go ahead.
He kept mentioning too that he's acquiring assets, and he kept saying he got 5 second-round picks, and it was like, well, theoretically, because the trade wasn't
yeah.
And then but he never mentioned that he gave up 2 seconds. So he kept saying we added 5 second-round picks, but they also lost 2 second-round picks, and one of the 5 second-round picks is very unlikely to convey. So it was really only 4 second-round picks. So they really only netted 2. So I don't know why he's trying to say that.
He's trying to trick the fan base into having his back, and it pisses me off. Yeah. Because I've seen so many fans like, dude, you guys can't even pay enough attention to realize that we traded 2 seconds for Matisse Thybulle, or you can't do 5 minus 2. Like, that's the thing. I saw so many fans yesterday. We had 5 second-round picks. We had 5 second-round picks. It's like, these are all the fans that always have the most to say in terms of disagreements and, oh, you're wrong. It's this is what's wrong. They're so, like, so sure about everything they know. But they don't even pay enough attention on trade deadline day to know how many second-round picks we gave up in 2 separate trades. Like, seriously? Come on. That just drives me crazy. And that's the thing. It's like, we'll just, 5 second-round picks. It's people that want to defend him. So he's just feeding them the sample. Like, yeah, we got 5 second-round picks. We got 5 second-round picks. He's just feeding that to them so they can sit there and repeat it, even though the math's not right. He's a PR guy.
Slick Mode says 5 minus 2 equals GP2. No, so okay. I want to lay something out for you, Tori, and chat. So we trade CJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately we get Hart and Grant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for every time there's someone who disagrees with us that we should have gotten more for CJ, i.e., had better protections on the pick or gotten more if that pick didn't convey, all we hear is he ended up with Hart and Grant, right? For CJ. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't do better than that. Mm-hmm. Sure, agree with you. Okay? Mm-hmm. When we made the trade for Hart, were we going for it last year? Or were we already kind of resigned to tank mode?
I mean, everyone knows we were resigned to tank mode.
Okay. So we were tanking, right? Mm-hmm. So we go into this season. Cronin says, we have Hart. He was an expiring contract. We had to get some value for him instead of losing him for nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that means that one of two things. He either knew that when he acquired Hart, knowing they weren't going to keep him long term, and that was just all BS. Or two, he didn't realize that they were tanking last year and he only had a year left possibly, and they would have some sort of contract thing with him coming up. So, like, why would you trade for an expiring contract? You know what I mean?
Or the plan was
do you get what I'm saying?
I mean,
like,
yeah, but
like the
but
trade
there's
all
also
along
the
was
scenario
to get rid of him. So it wasn't to get Hart for CJ, and it wasn't to get 5 Harts on your roster at every position.
There's the scenario where they thought that he plus Grant in the starting lineup this year would make them like a really solid playoff team.
He wasn't even the starter though. He wasn't even like
or him off the bench. That's the thing. Like they could have went into this year like, okay, we think we got a really good team. If this team was a playoff team right now and like the 3rd seed, I don't think they would have traded him. I think they'd go into next season like, oh, this is a really good team. We're going to bring him back. Yeah. So I think basically that's what it was, is they brought him in and it was like, okay, well, let's see how this works. And then he's like struggled offensively this year. So then it's like, oh, well, we gotta move him because A, this isn't working and he's going to be a free agent. So let's just get something for him.
All right. So then he goes on to say that by adding the 1st round pick and the 2nd round pick, they've put themselves in a position to make their big swing this summer. But no one, of course, pressed him on how he would come up with the contract. Oh, actually, I think someone did say
somebody did.
Someone did,
said,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Whoever that was, I think it might have been Meringue.
Yeah.
But whoever it was, shout out to them for a good question.
Yeah.
And
what did he say, Tori?
He said that, I don't even remember verbatim, but basically like he's very cognizant of that and always looks at like what combination of players can bring back what amounts of salary. Is basically what his answer was. Yeah.
But I don't know. I took it to be like he just is hoping that a perfect trade becomes available at some point. But then he went on to be asked, with your current setup, like how you going to add to the roster or whatever. So DJ Vegas says it was him. Anyways, then he goes on this rant about how he's going to convince free agents and he's confident in free agents signing here.
Yeah, that was...
What cap space? What are you talking about? You don't have any cap space. So we're going to convince minimum guys and
I think he's thinking like
tax mid-level exception?
Sign and trade? I think he's thinking sign and trade, Eric.
We don't even have the contracts to sign and trade.
Depending on how good it is, I mean, it comes down to, are you giving up Sharp? Because, okay, Nurk is 16.9. Nas is, let me just do this. Nurk's 16.9. Nas is 6.3, right? That's 23 million plus 1.25 could bring back 29 million. If you throw in Keon into that, he's making 2.8. So that's 26 million outgoing times 1.2. That's 32.5 million you can bring back. So maybe you could throw in Kevin Knox as well. But like, at what point are we worrying about the hard cap then? Because you're bringing in a player via sign and trade, right? You throw in Kevin Knox $3 million that you can pick up the option for as part of, trading him out. Or you could pick up the option for, and then, I think you'd have to pick up the option before free agency, but that's 29 million plus 1.25. That's about 36.3 million you can bring back in a sign and trade. But if you look at what's the projected hard cap next year, the salary cap's 134, so the luxury tax is
164 or something. I want to say
the hard cap.
Oh, I was saying luxury tax.
Luxury tax.
So
like
170, 170-ish, yeah.
Isn't it $7 million more? It's $7 million. So 171 minus the dead money, which is like $4 million. So that's 167 minus Dame, who's 45.6 million next year, minus Ant, who's 24.1, minus Nurkic, who's 16.9. Or no. If we're talking about if we do a sign and trade, so Nurkic would be gone. But Grant, how much should I calculate for him making?
Probably 30 at this point.
30. Okay. So just by taking out Dame, Ant, and Grant, we have $67 million left under the hard cap. You take out Sharp, that's down to 61. If we sign somebody for, 35, 36 million, we have $25 million below the hard cap. And then the rest is like a taxpayer MLE and minimums. It could be possible below the hard cap, maybe even below the tax line if you don't use that MLE. But you're talking about a team with no bench and no center, assuming it's for a 3. Like, who's the free agent you'd go after? You know what I mean? It's very fishy. And I saw something like Dame today said, like, just wait till you see what we got planned. Or I don't know. I'm just verbatim. Like, there was something like cryptic from Dame that made me think like, oh, he thinks they're going after somebody big time this offseason. But like, who could it even be? Especially, and then Cronin starts talking about free agents. Like, who on the free agent market would he go after?
I'm telling you, it's a scam.
Very likely.
It's the Olshey kick the can down the road as many times as you can, and just keep doing it until people stop believing you. But I'm telling you right now, you better start believing that that's a definite possibility. I had an article about it today if anyone cares to read about it.
I mean, maybe Chris Middleton. Like, but is that worth going after Chris Middleton for? He's been injured all year. Maybe Chris Porzingis.
There's that article after the stream. Anyone wants to read about what's really going on behind the scenes regarding our moves and stuff like that.
Maybe it's Draymond Green.
One thing? Thanks, People's Mix. Did you get Greyhoe's super chat?
No, I've been looking at a bunch of stuff. Where's it at?
Okay,
up there. Shout out Gray Hughes, $10 donut. Says, thanks for always doing the shows and giving a place for us Blazers fans to vent and chat. Now, everyone said in super chats, just because we lose doesn't mean they aren't working hard. Thank you, Gray. Appreciate the $10 dono and your support as always.
Thanks, Gray.
But
no. So this was also very interesting. Cronin was asked. So for those that don't know, I told Tori this, or I think you saw this morning, right? About the first round pick and Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you about it, and then I didn't see if you responded or not.
So yeah, I'll just tell everyone else. Apparently, Jody is pretty happy that we have a situation where she can't be asked to go all in for a Pascal Siakam or a Kevin Durant because we don't have those picks available, okay? So she uses that as her out, and then she doesn't have to take the heat of that. But that she does not want that pick to convey to Chicago anytime soon, because as long as we still owe that pick to Chicago, she can sit here and blame the GMs or like Olshey for making that move, right? So as long as we owe that pick to Chicago, now next year we can then trade a 2030 pick because 2028 is 2 years before that. And then the subsequent year, and 2 years from then, you can open up 2032 and that kind of stuff, right? This goes to Cronin, who was asked, I'm paraphrasing, but does the limitations of the Chicago pick hurt you in a trade? And he eventually went on to say, I always talk to Chicago, like we can open up that pick if we had to. We might have to give something up, or we might have to unprotect it or whatever. But then the problem is, like, unlike Phoenix, who had all their future picks and could trade 4 first, then you still only have 3 first to trade in the future. He went on to say a bunch of stuff like that, but like he could protect it. But before he said any of that, he kind of slipped and said, it was kind of a good thing because it prevents him from doing certain things. So,
Wait, what is that? Is that
like
paraphrasing?
like kinda, but I forgot exactly what he said.
Yeah.
But he did say it's good and it's bad. Like in some ways, it kind of helps us not have to worry about making certain moves, and in some ways, it does prevent us possibly from going all in. But it didn't really. Yeah.
I mean, I truly don't think he believes that.
Right. I know.
I think that's basically what Jody's told him. Yeah. So that just makes me wonder how much of this deadline is just Jody or Burt Cold or whoever the hell,
Well,
like, I don't even know. Maybe I'm being too hard on Cronin because he is just dealing with one of the worst ownership groups.
Yeah.
If not the worst ownership group in the league right now, because Sarver's gone.
He did say that to Trevin, but at first he slipped and said something else, I think. Maybe I'm misremembering. But anyways, yeah, he did say it was good too because then we keep our pick. But they were asking him specifically over like if that affects trades for future ones, not about keeping a pick. But anyways, like I laid this out in the article, so go read it. But it is very possible the whole reason behind our trade deadline was just to trade for a couple of or 4 players that we could cut in the offseason. We can re-sign Jeremy Grant so Dame stays happy and still avoid the tax next year. And that was the whole reason why we didn't get Wiseman, because then that's $12 million towards that. We would be over the cap then and have to make a move to dump salary if Jody wanted to clear the tax. So, but this isn't a situation where the league can like force her out, because I mean, there's if you force teams to pay tax, you wouldn't have enough owners to have 30 teams. So she wants to have the best possible team possible without ever going to the tax, and she saw an opportunity here that we could re-sign Jeremy and keep Anfernee, Dame. So we're still relevant. Like fans, they'll still get attendance. They'll still get attention. They still have Dame. They still kind of keep him happy they can still tell him, like Cronin does, that they're going to go all in next time. Next time, as soon as the opportunity comes. Like, how many times have we heard that already just from Cronin himself? And we heard that from Olshey for like 9 years. So they can keep saying that. And then next trade deadline is going to come, and they're going to say, oh, don't worry, this summer we're set up to make that move. And then they're going to avoid the tax again, and it's going to keep going. So, but Dame still has Grant and Anfernee and stuff like that, so it's not like he's been completely left out in the dark. So you can still justify it that they are giving him some help. But that's why we need the best possible GM in that situation, and not just the person who's a puppet for that situation, because in that situation, you have to be shrewd and you have to get good players on cheap contracts that you can stay under the tax for, like a Jared Vanderbilt or those kind of players. And that's why ultimately I believe that the best possible option for Dame's window, even though this sounds dumb, is to just hope we hit on those 2 draft picks next year or in 2023 in this draft, and we get actual help that way. So because that's logically the only way, because if we re-sign Jeremy for $30 million, I roughly did the math, we're about $16 million under the tax with like 9 or 10 players, I think. Or I think it might even be 8 players. And then you add the 2 draft picks, you add a tax MLE signing, or you conveniently get hard capped by signing Gary Payton. And then not only do you avoid the tax, but you have an excuse for an entire year to not ever go for it further than the hard cap, right? So even if she wanted to go on, oh, I'm sorry, I can't trade for Kevin Durant because we triggered the hard cap, right? So now she has all these excuses, and she's never put in a position where Dame can go to her and say, did you just turn down a trade for Kevin Durant? Did we logically have a chance to get him and you said no? because you didn't want to go in the tax. She, by doing what she's doing, she never has to have that question answered because it's never, if they're hard cap and let's just say we couldn't match salary or whatever, like that's how it is. So we have to have a GM who makes moves like they did. And that's why you got to get Wiseman, right? Like you got to get Wiseman, and you got to figure out a way to just like hit on a guy. Get Sadiq Bey. He was only $4.5 million, so you could have found a way. Like you need to find ways to get players, but now all these guys could walk at the end of the season, and if we have to re-sign them or they play real, like let's say Cam Reddish does become the answer at small forward, do you think we're going to pay him and Grant this summer? Like, I find it hard to believe that's just going, like, she's just going to let us pay both of those guys and go deep into the tax and then have all these problems come up. So I think we're kind of screwed. And if you want more on that, go read that article.
Yep. I mean, I just really want her to sell the team. Look at what Matt Ishbia did when he came in his son's over. One day, Kevin Durant, bang. Like,
and then he trades for Darius Baisley.
Great trade. You know, he lets James Jones trade for Darius Baisley, but you know,
yeah,
he went for it, and you could tell like he wanted to come in and win. Like he didn't care. He wanted to come in and build a. They're
talking about cutting players on guaranteed contracts and signing as many buyout guys as they can to put the best possible team around them, no matter what the cost is. And they're going all in, which once you got Kevin Durant, you pretty much have to.
It's just sad because that's who Paul Allen was.
Yeah, I mean he went through times where he tried to buy championships and then he tried to then become smarter about being a business guy, and so there were definitely highs and lows with Allen, but yeah, at the core, he treated it more like a toy, like a wanting to win at all costs type of thing, versus being a business. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't see how Jody could ever make that. Our one chance was if we had built upon the success of her first year as owner when we go to the Western Conference Finals, but then ever since then we've barely made the playoffs or had a tanking season. So like it's just been kind of downhill from there.
Yep.
But it does make trades harder as a GM, so I do kind of feel bad for Cronin. But like if he really wanted Wiseman yesterday and she said no, I don't want that salary on the books next year, like what are you freaking supposed to do if you're Cronin,
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I guess it's also his fault that he signed Gary Payton and all this stuff.
I mean, he still has some control over within the confines, so it's not completely off of him. But dude, when is she gonna sell the team? Like I'm late to the. She needs to sell the team no matter what train, right? Like I've been like, yeah, it would be nice if she sold it, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as people say. Now, after this deadline, I'm on board. Yeah. I'm right there.
I mean, maybe she gets so much public pressure and then realizes that she could be the hero if she went all in like Ishbia did yesterday.
But I don't think she even cares that much about
that.
No,
I know. I'm just saying, like maybe she has a change of heart, and maybe they do have an opportunity to go all in, and she's like, you know what? Okay, we owe it to Dame or whatever. But I find it hard to believe based on all her actions so far.
Supposedly, she's waiting until after the 2024 TV deal, right? Is that the rumor right now?
I don't know if it's 2024 or 2025, but yeah, like one of those.
Chad, do you know when it is?
That's a huge payday, and then also by then, you got to imagine there's going to be expansion at some point. Mm-hmm. Maestro says 2024, yeah. So
it lasts for
John.
2025 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and then there's
2024, 2025. So what? It's going to be after this season, 2 more seasons of her.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also don't know because, I mean, there's been people like Canzano that reported that she had to sell the team by the end of, or the trust had to sell the team by the end of this season, or not this season, but this calendar year. 2023. And then there's been other reports that no, she could push that off for like 10 to 20 years if she really wanted to. So I have no idea what's correct there or what date she has to say.
Paul Allen's will.
Huh? Yeah. Or if there's a way for her to come up with the money from doing something else and outright buying the team from the trust or something, which would be the worst possible scenario.
I don't know why she'd do that though.
I know.
Penny pinching.
Yeah, because these teams are. No one wants to give up one of these franchises that easily because, I mean, like it's one of the few things in life that's guaranteed to, like, exponentially grow in like billions of dollars in a short amount of time. So,
but that's the thing is you can bake that into the sale price. And that's the thing. It's if
course,
the TV deal's coming, then you can bake that into the sale price.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to wait. Please, Jody, just sell the team. Just sell the team. Like, God, I would have... Matt Ishbia isn't from Phoenix, is he? Like, where's he even from? I don't think he's from Phoenix.
He went to Michigan State, so no, I don't think he's from Phoenix.
Matt Ishbia. Let me look him up. Because that's the thing, is everybody's always worried about, like, oh, if it's not somebody from Portland, they could move the team, and that's scary. You don't want that, right? Blah, 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 blah.
They're not.
He's from Michigan.
Yeah, they're not.
That dude come in, it was just like, yeah, I want to be the best organization and do all this stuff in the Phoenix community and blah, 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 and I want to win, and then trades for Kevin Durant. And I'm just sitting there so jealous, like, man. Because it starts at the top, and that's the thing. If Cronin's not the GM to get it done, who's going to make the change? It's going to be at the top. But that's the thing. If the owner's more worried about her pocketbooks, that's what she's going to care about from the GM. So this whole organization is broken from the top down. If Chauncey's not a good enough coach, they're not firing him because it would cost them money to hire a replacement. So they're not getting rid of him. So that's the problem. Is if you want any change in this organization, it's Jody has to sell the team.
Slickbo says, why hasn't Jody sabotaged the Seahawks? Well, one, they did trade Russell Wilson and went super cheap and young this year. But two, the NFL has a hard cap, so you're kind of limited. You're like, there's no luxury tax in the NFL. And three, the NFL is like one of the biggest cash cows there is. That they just rake in money in the NFL. Like, it's crazy amounts of money that each team makes every year. So, like, that's the NBA still has some teams that kind of maybe don't make a ton of money in terms of day-to-day operations each year. But the NFL, like, every team rakes in like millions to billions of dollars in profit. Like, it's crazy.
Yep. So I don't know. If ownership changes, then the organization can change. Until ownership changes, I think we're going to be one of the worst ran organizations in the league. From a person, I don't think Cronin's got great. Chauncey might not be that great, and Jody's penny pinching. So,
people's just asked what does it matter then if she's raking in money from something else? Well, part of the problem with the whole trust and her situation is, I think this is the reason why she has to sell, is eventually she has to pay a large tax amount for the value of the estate that she inherited and like when you inherit the Blazers and the Seahawks and stuff, I think you have to pay like a tax on that or something. I might be fully off on this, but most of her assets from Paul Allen are like owning teams and owning businesses and owning certain things, companies. So it's not like liquid cash. Like, she just didn't get like $20 billion in cash in a bank account or whatever. So
So fingers crossed for that. Because I would love this offseason to be talking about, new ownership or something like that is what I hope for more than anything. Because it's like, imagine bringing in we don't even know, Eric. Like, we criticize Cronin a lot, but like, if he was trying to make an all-in move and had no restraints, it might be good. I mean, look at Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka has not been good, and then this trade deadline was phenomenal. James Jones, I think, has been one of the most overrated GMs. But he has an owner come in and says, "Let's go get Kevin Durant." Okay, he gets Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like, Cronin might be able to pull some great all-in move. You know, like, that's the thing. This team needs direction. So, if it's not Cronin, only way you get a new GM is if you get a new owner. So, I'm really hoping that's true, and it's a situation where this offseason it's a sale. Like, yeah.
Or we need a scandal.
Yeah, or a scandal.
like
we need this GP2 thing to become much, much worse.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want anyone to be racist or anything, but maybe.
Oh yeah, in the front office. Yeah.
It comes out that
Jody, yeah. I mean, that's what's sad is like Sarver was terrible, but it took something like that to get him out of there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, I don't hope for that either. I just wish he'd sell.
I mean, we can talk about this now, but Sarver was literally going to give away Cam Johnson because he didn't want to have to go in the tax further to pay him, and he was mad that he didn't accept the extension. So he was they would have tried to get as much as possible for him, but they were going to dump him by the trade deadline, and they had the attitude like, screw this guy. And I mean, they ended up trading him anyway because they got Kevin freaking Durant. But yeah, they were like, that's how he ran that organization. He wasn't going to be willing to go all in. That was a freaking dumpster fire. They had like the worst vibes in the league. You match a contract on a center like for a, in my opinion, an overpay for a center who doesn't even want to be there and who has attitude problems, and your point guard's aging, and you like, I don't know, like the vibes were bad, and then Jay Crowder doesn't even freaking show up, and then they somehow turned that into getting him to have to sell the team, basically forcing his hand, and now they have a guy who just came in and day one was like, nope, we're gonna just do whatever it takes. Like, let's go for it. Why not this year and why not us? And man, what a magical feeling that must have been for Suns fans to go from that to that. I mean, Ballmer pretty much did the same thing with the Clippers. Donald Sterling was the worst owner in all of sports. He was a cheapskate. He was a racist. And he was like, he'd draft a player and then they would never re-sign him. They would just trade him and get nothing for him. And the team always sucked. And then Ballmer comes in and is just like, I mean, he's willing to do whatever it takes. But unfortunately, their moves didn't. They went all in too with Paul George and Kawhi, but they haven't been healthy enough to make a legit run. But I mean, it is possible that you get the right person that's willing to do that. I mean, even Minnesota, they get. I mean, I don't think that's even been approved yet. I think it's still in process, which is weird because the Phoenix Suns one got approved so fast. But but like, they get new ownership last year or like down the road, and they get approval to go all in for Gobert. I mean, it's going to look maybe dumb, but at least they went for it, and tried to build a winner around their team and all that stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, we're going to be stuck with, okay, let's be good, but I'm not going to let you be really good.
Yeah. Yep.
And I hope I'm wrong. Once again, just like with Cam Reddish and Kevin Knox, like, I hope I'm sitting here like, sorry, I was wrong. Jody's awesome. Like, she just gonna pay like $80 million in tax next year. But like, yeah, can you actually believe that to happen? Like, I don't.
I mean, if she's planning on selling the team, maybe this offseason could be good.
Yeah.
Like, if it's to an owner that wants a winner, and if she has to sell the team, I don't know, it'd probably raise the value. Like, hypothetically speaking, say the Bucks flounder this year, and Giannis wants to play with Dame, which apparently Giannis and Dame are close, and Giannis almost like would have wanted to play in Portland if he didn't stay in Milwaukee or something like that. Then I don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
or
And if you're Milwaukee and he wants to go play with Dame, do you really say no? He won you a championship. Like,
or what
this
if they
is
win
not
another
gonna
championship this year, and then he's like, okay, I won you guys 2 championships.
Yeah.
I want to go win one with Dame now. Or something.
Yeah, I mean, this
know
isn't
it's not
gonna
happening,
happen.
but yeah.
But just hypothetically speaking, like, there's something I saw on Instagram where like Dame was like, watch and wait till you see what we're about to pull off or something like that. And it was just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was talking about Cam Reddish.
I don't know. Chat, do you know what I'm talking about? Did anybody see what I'm talking about?
Dude, he was talking about Ryan Archidiakono, whatever. I just butchered that.
Yeah, he's Archidiakono.
He was talking about Shvi Machiluk, and then we gave him away.
Machiluk. But like, and then Cronin's like, we make sure that we have enough that can add up to match or whatever he was talking about, right? If you count Nurk, Sharp, Little, Kevin Knox,
yeah,
Keon and Gray and like Trendon, it barely matches Giannis.
People are speculating that he just talking about making the playoffs and going on a run with the Blazers.
Oh, wow.
He's going to pull off averaging 35 points per game and leading this ragtag group.
Yeah, no, we're not. Not at all. That's not going to happen. No way.
Yeah. Or eventually someday winning a title and, seeing everyone's face.
It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, why is Cronin talking about free agents and this and that? It's probably all BS. It's just like,
because okay, if we offer qualifying offers to like Matisse and we're like pretty much into the tax if we do it just Matisse and Cam and re-sign Jeremy. So unless Jeremy walks, we don't have any avenue of signing free agents. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what we need to have happen, Eric?
What?
Hold on. It's here. It's time.
Oh no. No. Did we do this? You're one for one. You're gonna ruin it.
One. I mean,
all right, never mind.
I'm gonna do a tankathon sim.
Yeah.
Before now in the draft anyway. So
we're 11th. Let's go.
We're currently 11th.
2% chance at Wemby. Let's go. That's better than any chance we have of anything else happening.
We are 2 games back of 7, Eric.
That was the most epic thing ever. Was when I finally talked you into doing one tankathon thing.
And there was like a 2% chance we got number 1. Yeah, that's wild. Shout out to you if you were there. But are you guys having deja vu? We are 2 games back of having the 7th best odds.
Yeah.
We are 2.5 games back of having the 6th best odds, Eric.
Dude, it's crazy how. I mean, we're not getting 5th is like the absolute best case scenario, but
I mean, I'd take.
I mean, we're not getting top 4 odds, but like you could realistically tank right now and get 5th best odds at Wemby. That's insane.
Yeah.
But we're also 2 games out of being like the 6th seed or something.
And now that's a negative. I mean, that's still a positive, right? Like, I honestly, for this season to go as badly as it is, I like that it's like, oh, if we somehow went on some magical run and made the playoffs, we could maybe even avoid the play-in right now. But if things hit the fan, we could, like the fifth worst team is only 10 games below 500, which is a really good record for the 5th worst team. Like, everything's so even, it creates a best of both worlds scenario.
It's going to be frustrating, though. Like, we beat the Warriors the other night, and then we lose to the Thunder.
Yeah.
It's like, just keep losing or keep winning. One or the other. Pick a path.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's do this.
Anyway, time for the sim. We scroll up. You guys know the deal if you paid attention last year. If you're new, we scroll up from the bottom. God, I can't believe we're here. 14th.
Oh, wait. You gotta stop because... Oh, wait. Is that trade not official yet? Oh, no. There we are. Portland, 19th. Let's go.
I mean...
We got the 19th pick.
Unlike the Pelicans pick, we don't have 2 picks in the lottery where, like, the Pelicans pick, it's like, where does that end up? Does it move up, right? Like, it's just if New York better make the freaking playoffs, man. You got to root hard for the Knicks the rest of the year.
We got to bring out the tank graphics again.
I know,
The
yeah.
tank badges for each game.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Eubanks
Mm-hmm.
is now going to become my favorite player again.
14th is is Utah via Minnesota. 13th is Utah via Minnesota. Oh, it moved up a ton. We're 11th. I forgot how I did it. Oh, I used this thing. Yeah, that's what I used. Okay, we're 11th. Toronto is 9th. I have no idea who moved up. I don't know the tank standings. Washington moved up to 3. Yeah, I gotta do it like that. Okay, yeah. Detroit gets Wemby. Detroit, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Wemby.
And maybe James Wiseman or Kevin Knox.
And maybe James Wiseman. Possibly James Wiseman. But Orlando, too. Scoot would be nice in Orlando. Oh, my goodness. That would be a good fit for him.
Did you see Duran's stats today?
Yeah. Duran and Wemby, because they can play together.
Yeah, for sure.
Whew. Yeah. So Portland at 11 and 19. If they package those 2 picks, how high do you think they can move up?
In this draft, I don't think you're moving up very far.
But here's the thing. They would probably do that to save money.
Yeah. Or move down.
Yeah, or trade the...
Wait.
I could see them trading the 19th pick for a future first. That's not our own future first.
We don't know yet if any of those seconds are conveying this year. Because Atlanta has, like, when I looked the other day, they had, like, 43rd and 47th. So if we got either of those picks...
They haven't even updated it for us. But yeah, it's like, what?
Well, that trade isn't official.
Yeah.
That's part of the thing that might go away.
Yeah, but I mean, they updated it pretty quick for the next pick. I don't know if it was official. So I don't think Tickathon is, like, waiting for... I think they're just doing it based on tweets, you know, or based on what they hear.
They're pretty on top of things.
Like, I recognize a lot of these names. I don't know who the hell Juan Nunez is, but like Amani Bates. Amani Bates. Oh, he's 6'9", but he has like a 6'6" wingspan.
Well, one thing, if we end up with a couple second-round picks, I definitely think they're going to try to stockpile some foreign or international players.
James Najee. I just started paying attention recently, and I was surprised to see Jordan Walsh as a second-round pick because he had a lot of hype going into this season.
Yeah, he's really struggled. I think he's trying to battle through an injury too, but he's actually. I mean, he showed some flashes on defense, but he's been pretty rough offensively. I
just want to know who the best forward perimeter defender is in the second round, and that's who I want to target.
Forward defender, in that range, I think. I mean,
isn't Walsh pretty good defensively? Isn't that supposed to be one of his strengths?
Yeah. But I mean, he's a little higher than that.
Yeah.
Jalen Clark's a good defender, but he's probably a little too high as well.
Strother, it's not. Nobody on that Gonzaga team is, dude. God dang.
Go down a little bit. I have some Dayton film I'm gonna watch. Darren Holmes, Dayron.
Yeah,
Holmes.
Dayron, like Dayron Sharp.
Yeah, I've seen several Bob and Miller games. I mean, he's an interesting guy to take a flyer on, but he seems really far away, but kind of a big that could possibly be like a rim protector. Think Walmart version of Wembanyama.
So, if we had the 11th pick, who would you take here right now based on who's on the board in this mock draft?
All right. Can you go down just a little bit so I can see like 11 through whatever? I am taking who we have.
Yeah. Because he seems like the best defensive potential two-way guy on the board.
Jet Howard would be tempting too. But I think Walker's a little better suited to be one of our strong forwards, and he's showing some things off the dribble lately too that I'm impressed with. So yeah, I think I'm taking him.
40% from three, but then I watched some of like his defensive tape, just a little bit. I was really impressed for a dude that big. Like, he just looks strong. And he's tall and, has some length. I was surprised as to how quick he moved his feet defensively.
He rebounds well, too.
Yeah, so...
he's a way better defender than rebounder than Jeremy Grant, so it's kind of a weird comp.
Yeah. Anthony Black, I wouldn't hate, but it would just be like he needs to learn how to shoot. And he needs to put on strength. Because he's 6'7", he's just not strong enough to play the 3 yet, I don't think.
He's one of those guys that, I don't know. I think he's going to need the ball in his hands, so I don't know if it makes sense for us.
I just defensively like him. And, could be a playmaker. Like, that's going to be the key for him is can he shoot? If he can shoot, he can play off the ball.
His 55% true shooting percentage. Are you talking about Anthony Black? Because it was like horrible at the beginning of the season. It's improved.
But like last 4 games, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 3 from 3. But he had a game that was 3 for 5. He's back to second again. Yeah. You know who that looks like?
Nasir Little.
Yep. Yeah. But
dude.
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say in terms of some of those other guys, dude, I saw Jet Howard absolutely take over a game against Iowa. It was so impressive, like some of his moves and his shooting ability. Definitely intriguing, son of Juwan Howard. So, got some NBA type thing. He looks smaller than 6'8", in my opinion. Yeah. Jarvis Walker looks bigger than 6'8". Yeah. Jet Howard looks smaller than 6'8". Yeah. I don't know. Jariq Whitehead, he's just a little too small, but
injury
prone, but like he's got huge potential, but just has like kind of that same problem that AJ Griffin had last year. GG Jackson is like, I don't know, the guy. He's like I don't know.
He's unique. He's very unique as a prospect.
I've watched probably 6 or 7 South Carolina games, and they're brutal to watch. They're so freaking bad, dude. I hate watching them. But like, I mean, there's games where he just pouts and the coach takes him out, and he's just like a non-factor at all. And then there's games where you're like, dude, this guy just turned 18. This guy is going to be a freaking megastar. And man.
Yeah, like some of the things he does with the ball for his size is extremely impressive.
But he's a guy who needs to be in like a good developmental situation with a coach and he's going to need years to learn how to use his body and play defense and stuff like that.
Like, that's the home run swing.
Right.
I think he'll go higher than that simply because a team can't resist the upside.
If he's there at 19, you take him. Dude.
Especially that's your second pick.
I know you're going to hate what I'm about to say.
Oh, God.
I freaking love Chris Murray.
Oh, of course you do.
I
would have taken Keegan Murray at 19.
I like him better than Keegan Murray. And
why?
Like, if you can get him at 19, dude, okay, so I watched a lot of Iowa last year, right?
Yeah.
I think Chris Murray's better than Keegan. Maybe. I mean, people think Keegan's a better defender. I'll maybe give you that, but I think Chris is okay at defense. But I just like Keegan's a good shooter, but I feel like Chris's shot is more fluid. Like it's more. Like, I mean, it's crazy to say because Keegan's shooting over 40% in his rookie year and like setting a lot of stuff.
And he shot 40% last year at Iowa. Yeah. Chris Murray's shooting under 35% right now.
Dude, I saw him because that was the game he was playing Michigan or whatever, and they were selling out to stop him, and he was making some incredible moves off the dribble. He was pulling up from 3. Dude, the dude was just freaking money. He had post moves. Yeah. I freaking love his game, but he's like 24 or something, or going to be 20, 23, 24. So that's the only real knock on him. I don't know if they go for someone that's not super high upside, but if he's anything like his brother and can come in and shoot 40% from three right away,
Yeah.
that would be insane. Like to get that type of player, like to basically get Keegan from last year, but with the 19th pick instead of the fourth
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. I haven't watched anywhere near as much tape on you on any of these guys, so most of it is just like the little bit I've seen. I'm just like evaluating how they move, like quickness, that sort of thing. I mean, that guy moves well.
Yeah.
So like that guy's intriguing, and he can shoot. He's shooting almost 40% from three. That's an interesting combination. I don't know how he is defensively or anything, but he's big and it seems generally athletic. So,
he's more like Jeremy Grant, doesn't rebound.
Yeah. Oh, I mixed up Keontae Johnson and Keontae George. I was like, wait, Keontae is supposed to be up there, but
yeah,
it's cool that he's come back.
Keontae George is cool.
There's a lot of forwards.
When we're talking about for the Blazers, he still reminds me of one of their this type of guard we already have. That's just like a insane 3-point shot maker, scorer, creator. But I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go.
I don't get the Cam Whitmore hype. From the little bit I've seen, that could definitely change because I'm just not super educated, but I don't get the Cam Whitmore hype.
Interesting.
But this is just based off the way he moves. It's not based off much of anything.
Yeah.
So it's not educated. I need to do more research, I will admit. But as of now, my uneducated take is I don't understand the hype.
Dude, he's a physical specimen that moves really well. I don't know what you're talking about. He's just a little. He moves well, but he still has to work on just situational awareness and stuff like that. But he reminds me a lot. I'm not a big comparison guy, but freshman year Benedict Mathurin, if he would have came out after his freshman year and not gone back for his sophomore year, he seems like a Mathurin clone to me.
I'll have to watch him more because I just remember the little bit I saw. He just seemed a little stiff.
See, Cam Whitmore is one of my favorite prospects. I probably have him. I mean, I don't know if I can put him ahead of the Thompson twins, but somewhere in that 6 range, 6'7" or something. I watched Villanova, and I watched Villanova suck and lose and be terrible this year, and they don't freaking ever give Cam Whitmore the ball, and they run no plays for him and shit. And it's what are you doing? Get him the freaking ball, dude. You have this talent, freaking play through him, dude. It's so frustrating. I hate watching college basketball sometimes. Other than
Smith 2.0, because that's what happened at times last year. I feel like this is deja vu because those guards didn't feed him enough.
He still got his shots off though, and was good. But can't it'll go 5 minutes of watching a game, and you're dude, he hasn't even touched the ball on offense. What are these freaking guys doing? Because they have a couple of bigs that think they're really good, and I don't think they are.
How's Grady Dick defensively?
You wouldn't think he's good, but he's okay. He's okay.
Obviously, his strength is just his shooting ability, and his size is just not necessarily the archetype we need. Different fit for a different team.
I mean, every team can use the lights out shoot dude.
So who would you take at 19?
Chris Murray. Actually, Maxwell Lewis is intriguing, but yeah. I know you hate it. I told you. I told you would hate it. I told you.
I mean, if he's a better Keegan Murray, I'd absolutely take him.
Even if you
not as good of a shooter defensively, then.
I think this is as good of a shooter. What do you mean?
His numbers. I'm just basing off numbers.
Are you comparing to Keegan's last year?
Yeah.
What were Keegan's numbers last year?
Keegan shot 39.8% from three. Chris is shooting 34.5.
No, it's 39.6, isn't it?
Chris Murray?
Yeah.
No, 34.6. He hasn't shot the ball great in the last 5. 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 2 for 7, 2 for 6, 1 for 4. So it probably was, you know.
Yeah.
He had a stretch here. He was shooting the ball great. Yeah, I mean, basing it off numbers is not educated at all. I'm not trying to say, you know, I'm, you know anything. But
well, look at what his biggest plus is: projected NBA 3-point shooting. I love his shot.
How's that even calculated?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Based on college threes and free throws,
because he shoots like NBA range threes, like pretty easy. Like his mechanics will stay the same.
Yeah. He has
college
a
three
shot.
versus like D versus
Lefty.
Dude, it's literally like watching a Keegan clone. It's like exactly like last year. And
I hear would take Leonard Miller. But
yeah,
I know more about him than anyone else, but that's an upside guy. You know, I just want to swing for upside.
I didn't even see him on the screen down there.
Yeah.
I love Leonard Miller too, so I wouldn't mind that either. You get freaking Jarris Walker and Leonard Miller as your like rangy athletic forwards for the future. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Anyway, that's probably it for the stream. We covered literally a million things here. Was there a dono I missed or anything? Because I haven't been
One
looking.
more thing.
Oh, shout out Adsy Mac with a $5 Australian dollar dono. Says, thanks for your info, guys. Also, I'm an Aussie. I'm pumped to have Matisse on the team. He's an amazing guy to boot. Thank you, Adsy Mac. Yeah, I mean, Matisse will be cool. I like him as a person. I would like it if he started uploading YouTube videos again. That'd be cool.
People's mix. I have Brandon Miller third on my board.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yep. Anyway.
Anyone sign Ibaka? Yeah, probably a contender. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't think it makes sense for us.
The next game, our postgame show will be live from Alberta Abbey. We're hosting a watch party, in-person watch party. If you want to go to it, ticket link in the description box below. Doors open an hour before the game. We've already done one of these. It was a lot of fun. It was GP2's debut.
Now we're going to see Thybulle's debut, and
yeah.
If we're tanking
maybe
Ryan
Kevin Knox, or maybe right, yeah, we'll see. So come watch it with us. The food's there. The food there is great. You can buy tickets at the link in the description box below. With how hectic everything's been, I haven't really been plugging it a whole lot, so I want to make sure you guys know that if you want to come hang out with us, meet us in person, and view a live post-game show, click that link in that description, and hopefully you can make it out. Also on Sunday, the venue's hosting a Super Bowl watch party. You can get links to that at albertaabbey.org. What are you laughing at?
GP second debut on the watch party.
GP's second debut.
Because he's coming back to us and he's
and he plays.
Shout out to whoever says that.
That's hilarious, actually. I love it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, anyway, here's, if you want to go to a Super Bowl party, maybe grab some friends. There's the website link for that. You can find it through there. But yeah, watch party tickets for Blazers Uprise watch party. Linked in the description box below. Honestly, it's worth it just for the food. Even if you hate us, it's worth it just for the food.
Yeah, come heckle us during the show.
Yeah, you can heckle us too. Yeah, if you hate us, it might be even more worth it. You know, you can come boo us. You know, please don't boo us. But anyway, we're out of here. Yeah, stream on Monday. 2 streams on Monday. Nothing over the weekend. Maybe a video or something, or maybe we might do an impromptu live stream depending on what breaks with this GP2 stuff. We'll see. So. Anyway, anything else?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Hope you have a good weekend. If we don't talk to you till Monday, for those that watch the Super Bowl, enjoy that. Mm-hmm. And hope to see as many of you as possible on Monday. And if not, we'll see you on the stream. So thank you so much for watching and have a good weekend.
Yep, absolutely. That's a wrap for the Blazers Uprise postgame show presented by BetOnline. See you on Monday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.